Chapter 1042. After the break, Jia Jinyan stood up and said loudly, "The lot drawing competition is over. Next, the challenge competition will begin." According to the rules of the challenge competition, every disciple participating in the competition has the opportunity to challenge others. The person being challenged can be an external helper or a disciple themselves. If the challenger wins, they can continue to challenge others. And if the challenged wins, they will replace the challenger and continue to challenge others. The winning external helper or disciple will get 1 point, and the loser will not get any points. After a pause, Jia Jinyan continued, "The rules of victory and defeat are the same as the challenge competition just now. There is no need to kill. As long as the opponent is knocked unconscious or knocked out of the ring, it is considered the winner. If one party takes the initiative to admit defeat, then the other party is not allowed to attack again, otherwise, they will be disqualified." After explaining the rules of the competition, Jia Jinyan signaled his trusted aide beside him to press the mouse, and then said in a deep voice, "Now the competition begins. The first challenger will be selected by the computer randomly drawing lots. Everyone, please get ready." As soon as Jia Jinyan's voice fell, the names of the contestants began to scroll on the big screen. Everyone's hearts were in their mouths as they stared at the big screen, wanting to know who the first challenger would be. However, the strange thing was that unlike the previous lot drawing competition, which ended in a few seconds, and the results were scrolling, this time, after the trusted aide pressed the mouse, the names on the big screen kept changing, and did not stop for a long time. It looked like there was a malfunction. The others did not feel anything, but this strange phenomenon had already attracted the attention of Xiao Chun. Recalling the behavior of Jia Huiyan and the others, he vaguely guessed something. He immediately released his divine sense, and searched around the martial arts arena. As expected, in a remote corner outside the martial arts arena, Xiao Chun used his divine sense to find the figure of Jia Kusu. He saw that he was holding a laptop in his hand, and his fingers were typing quickly on the keyboard. No one knew what he was up to. Xiao Chun focused and gathered all his divine sense to take a closer look. He found that Jia Kusu was actually using hacking software to interfere with the results of the lot drawing. His fingers moved quickly and typed out Jia Huiyan's name. Then, he quickly dragged it into the competition's lot drawing software. After confirming that there was no mistake, he hit the enter key. On the big screen in the martial arts arena, Jia Huiyan's name immediately appeared. Xiao Chun raised his eyebrows slightly. It seemed that Jia Huiyan came prepared. I wonder what their next plan is. Presumably, it was targeted at Jia Muzin. Jia Jinyan glanced at the screen and asked indifferently, "Huiyan, who do you want to challenge? Will you choose to fight on your own, or will you let an external helper fight on your behalf?" Reporting to Grandpa, "I choose to have the external aide, Tang Yuansheng, represent me in this match. The person I want to challenge is Jia Muzin. If he wants to have an external aide, that's fine too." Jia Huiyan replied with an evil smile. Last night, he had discussed with Jia Tuyao for an entire night, and had already reached a secret agreement. They would first defeat Jia Muzin and Xiao Chun in the competition, then let the two foreign helpers decide the winner based on their own abilities. Jia Muzin's complexion changed. He had guessed that Jia Huiyan would first get points from him, but he didn't expect that Jia Huiyan would deliberately send an external helper to deal with him. This was too despicable. "Why are you still challenging me?" Xiao Chun stood up and waved his hand at Jia Huiyan as if he was a beggar. He said impatiently, "Once you've finished challenging me, you and the others will have nothing to do. I'm a very honest person, and I don't want to lie to you. I suggest that you get more points from others." Humph. This was the first time that Tang Yuansheng had met such an arrogant opponent. He immediately became furious. He coldly snorted and quickly jumped onto the stage. He pointed at Xiao Chun and said coldly, "Xiao, don't waste time like a king old woman. If you have the guts, come up here and fight me fair and square. What's the point of saying all this bullshit? Sigh. Since you want to give points to me so much, then I'll reluctantly accept it. Don't regret it." Xiao Chun helplessly shook his head. He comfortingly patted Jia Muzin's shoulder, then slowly walked onto the stage and stood opposite of Tang Yuansheng. Xiaochen didn't immediately make a move. Instead, he patiently waited for Tang Yuansheng to attack first. He had never encountered a real venerable, so he planned to use this opportunity to test the strength of a venerable. "I'd like to see what you have to make me regret it," Tang Yuansheng ridiculed. He circulated his mental cultivation and fully displayed the strength of a level 1 venerable. Then he took out a strangely shaped dagger and held it in his right hand. It seemed to be his personal weapon. Xiaochen glanced at the dagger. The blade was shaped like a black wave, and the handle was made of some unknown wood. There were many vines wrapped around it, and they were constantly wriggling. "You can't be so naive to think that you can win with this fruit knife, right?" Xiaochen teased with a smile. However, he didn't let his guard down. He immediately released his strength and used his yuan qi to protect his body. His eyes were fixed on Tang Yuansheng's every move, and he was ready to receive his attack at any time. "Hee," Tang Yuansheng sneered. He seemed to be very confident in his speed. He slightly bent his body and charged straight at Xiaochen. His right hand lightly slashed in the air. Xiaochen was slightly surprised. He didn't expect Tang Yuansheng's speed to be so fast. In almost an instant, he was already in front of him. Xiaochen was about to dodge the attack when he suddenly felt a sharp pain in his right leg. It seemed that Tang Yuansheng's dagger had already cut it. Tang Yuansheng did not stop because of this. Instead, he quickly turned around and came to Xiaochen's left side. He waved the dagger again and made a cut on Xiaochen's left arm. Although the cut was not very deep, blood quickly flowed out, echoing the bloodstain on Xiaochen's right leg. "So you're an expert in speed. It seems that I've underestimated you. However, this small injury doesn't seem to be a threat to a venerable. Do you have any other moves?" Xiaochen retaliated mercilessly as he quickly checked the injuries on his arm and thigh. Although the 2 wounds were bleeding, the blood that flowed out was bright red. It was obvious that the dagger wasn't smeared with poison. "Don't celebrate too early. I advise you to quickly prepare for your funeral. You won't live for long." Tang Yuansheng crossed his arms and stood not far away with an expressionless face. He was no longer waiting for an opportunity to attack. Instead, he was leisurely talking, as if he was waiting for something to happen. Xiaochen was stunned when he heard this. He immediately tried to circulate the yuan qi in his body. However, he found that there wasn't any blockage. Instead, the circulation was much smoother than before. For a moment, he was a little confused about Tang Yuansheng's intentions. However, Jia Muzhen, who was standing below the arena, noticed that something was wrong. He hurriedly warned, "Xiaochen, there seems to be something coming out from the wounds on your arm and thigh." Chapter 1043. What? Xiaochen was taken aback. He immediately lowered his head to take a look and discovered that the 2 wounds on his body were only bleeding just now. Now a black substance had grown out, as if some kind of plant had sprouted inside. "Ha ha ha. Aren't you surprised?" Tang Yuansheng finally revealed a cunning smile. He waved the black dagger in his hand and proudly introduced it. "Don't be fooled by the ugly appearance of this dagger. It is a living weapon. As long as it cuts someone, no matter how small or shallow the wound is, it will plant a seed in your wound and quickly germinate, just like your arm and thigh." "You also like to play with potted plants? Were you a gardener in the past?" Xiaochen frowned. His body suddenly grew plants. This scene was very strange no matter how he looked at it. "You still have the mood to laugh at me? I advise you to take care of yourself." Tang Yuansheng put away the dagger and said in a cold tone, "Do you think it will just grow plants? This kind of seed will absorb the martial qi, demonic qi and blood in your body as nourishment for its growth. Then it will grow rapidly. When the nourishment in your body is sucked dry, this plant will automatically wither. How about it? Very interesting, right? Oh, then I'll kill you before it grows, and then I'll slowly look for the antidote." Xiaochen couldn't be bothered to delay any longer. He directly mobilized the essence in his body and rushed towards Tang Yuansheng, slapping his chest with his palm. Unexpectedly, after Xiaochen moved, he found that his right leg was as heavy as lead. The wind that he slapped out also had no power. It was like a breeze blowing past Tang Yuansheng's body, not causing any damage. Alright, I forgot to tell you just now. This plant will not only affect your movement speed, but it will also preferentially absorb martial qi and demonic qi that have attacking power. So don't struggle on your deathbed. Just quietly wait to be sucked dry. Tang Yuanxing looked at Xiao Chun without moving, and said with a mocking expression. Xiao Chun frowned slightly. He didn't expect this plant to be so abnormal. Since he couldn't move or attack, he could only choose to control Tang Yuanxing's mind and let him detoxify him. With that thought in mind, Xiao Chun immediately released his mental strength toward Tang Yuanxing. However, just as it was about to touch his body, it was blocked by an invisible barrier. Holy shit! How could it be so deceptive? Xiao Chun was speechless. This was really an unexpected situation. It seemed that his spirit could only control Demon King level powerhouses at the moment, and it was ineffective against venerable ones. Tang Yuanxing's cultivation at the venerable realm was probably higher than his cultivation at the peak of gold core stage. You can actually release your devil chi to affect me. That's a good idea, but your cultivation is too low. If you were a second layer venerable, I might have fallen for your trick. But now you're too naive, Tang Yuanxing said in a slightly surprised tone. He also felt Xiao Chen's martial qi just now, but he thought it was just one of Xiao Chen's attacking methods. He didn't think about mental control. After the experiment, Xiao Chen felt that Tang Yuanxing in front of him was really a bit tricky. He wasn't as easy to deal with as he thought. Staring at the leisurely Tang Yuanxing, Xiao Chen's face darkened slightly. He estimated that this guy's strength was really not weak. Although his level was only half a level lower than his ability was obviously much higher. Moreover, his speed was too fast. Even if he wasn't affected by the poisonous plant, it would be difficult to catch and defeat him. Just as he felt a little helpless, the voice of Elder Heaven Ancestor suddenly sounded in Xiao Chen's mind. Xiao Chen, are you stupid? This kind of lousy plant. Just burn it with a fireball. Why are you waiting to be sucked dry and die? Burn it with fire? Then wouldn't I be burning myself to death? Xiao Chen was stunned and asked doubtfully. Although he often used the fireball skill, he had never burned his own body. His first reaction was inevitably a little worried. You're crazy. You used to hold the fireball in your hand all the time. Why didn't you burn your hand? Elder Heaven Ancestor said angrily. You were so logical when you were teaching that Missy. Why are you so crazy when it's your turn? That's right, then I'll try. Xiao Chen suddenly understood. He immediately used his right hand to cast a fireball and burned the wound on his left hand. Sizzle! The black plant was immediately burned by the fireball. In just a few seconds, it turned into black ash and fell to the ground. However, Xiao Chen's arm was not affected at all. Xiao Chen calmed down when he saw this. He tossed out another fireball and burned the wound on his right leg. Not long after, the plant growing on his leg was also burnt to a crisp, leaving not a single residue behind. The air was filled with a burnt smell, and the price Xiao Chen paid was only 2 large holes burned in his sleeves and pants. This is impossible. Seeing this scene, Tang Yuanxing was shocked. He did not expect Xiao Chen to use this kind of sorcery to burn the plant he planted so easily. Oh, why is it impossible? Have you never eaten barbecued vegetables before? Xiao Chen patted the ashes on his body. He felt a lot more relaxed. Immediately, he raised 2 fireballs in his hands and sneered. Since your gardening performance is over, it's my turn to show my incompetence. After saying that, Xiao Chen did not wait for the shocked Tang Yuanxing to react. He quickly threw the fireballs in his hands. One directly hit Tang Yuanxing's lower abdomen, and the other blocked his way from the side. What the F***ck? Tang Yuanxing was still immersed in the scene just now. He was shocked when he saw this. He had never seen this kind of trick before, and he did not dare to face it head-on. However, at this time, his escape route was blocked. He could only fall to the ground helplessly. He rolled forward like a lazy donkey, and only then did he barely escape the attack of the 2 fireballs. Your reaction is quite fast. This donkey roll is also very accurate. However, you rolled to the wrong place. Let me help you. Xiao Chen laughed and teased. He flew over and kicked Tang Yuanxing directly while he had not gotten up from the ground. Bang! There was only a muffled sound. Tang Yuanxing, who was still in shock, was kicked out of the ring. He was caught off guard and hit Jia Huiyan and the others who were watching from the side. That was not the end. The fireball that attacked Tang Yuanqing previously, because he had dodged it, flew straight down the ring and landed on Jia Huiyan's clothes. Before Jia Huiyan could react, Tang Yuanqing flew down together with the fireball and rolled into a ball with Jia Huiyan. The two of them immediately emitted bursts of flames. Chapter 1044. Ah, I'm on fire. It's burning me. Help. Why are you still standing there? Hurry up and get a fire extinguisher. Jia Huiyan panicked and crawled on the ground. He wanted to use the dust to extinguish the flames on his body, but it was to no avail. Ah, it's so hot. It's burning me. Tang Yuanqing was also wailing. He wanted to circulate his mind power to resist, but it was of no use. Even his hair was almost burnt off. He could only roll around on the ground, trying to extinguish the fire on his body, but the result was also in vain. Xiao Chen stood in the ring with his arms crossed in front of his chest. He looked down at the two people rolling on the ground. He smiled and teased. Jia Huiyan, aren't you too fake? There are so many fire words in your name. I thought you lacked fire in the 5 elements. So I wanted to give you a fire to increase your popularity. I didn't expect you to be so intolerant of fire. You really disappoint me. The staff at the scene were not as relaxed as Xiao Chen. They were almost scared out of their wits when they saw this scene. If the young master of the direct line was burned to death, it would be a big joke. They immediately picked up the fire extinguisher and rushed over. They turned on the switch and sprayed on the two people. A large amount of white foam quickly wrapped around the two people, and the flames on their bodies were extinguished. Jia Jinyan, who was watching from afar, did not expect such a situation to occur. He was a little anxious and stood up unconsciously. He wanted to see Jia Huiyan's injuries. His mood was very conflicted. On one hand, he felt that Xiao Chen was too arrogant and ruthless. He would not show mercy to the Jia family, which made him feel like he was slapped in the face. But on the other hand, Jia Jinyan was very pleased that Jia Muzin could find such external help. After all, if Jia Muzin became the family head, the Jia family would have Xiao Chen's long-term help in the future. Although Xiao Chen alone was not like adding wings to a tiger, his various abilities would definitely bring a lot of benefits to the Jia family. Moreover, this guy's strength was not bad. He should even be considered quite strong among his peers. He was still so young, so he must have great potential. In time, he would definitely soar to the sky. Uncle Gui, I think you can tell everyone who the winner of this round is now, right? Seeing that the flames on Jia Huiyan and Tang Yuanqing's bodies had already been extinguished, and the two of them were sitting in a pile of bubbles in a daze, Xiao Chen indifferently reminded them. Although he hated Jia Huiyan, Xiao Chen would not let him burn to death. It would be troublesome if he was disqualified. Xiao Chen wanted to throw a water ball spell to help put out the fire, but since there was a fire extinguisher, he didn't want to waste his primordial qi. Oh yes, okay. I hereby announce that Xiao Chen is the winner of this match, and young master Jia Muzin has obtained 1 point. Uncle Gui was in a daze today. He had almost forgotten his duties as a referee. He only came back to his senses when Xiao Chen reminded him. Wait. Tang Yuanqing stood up with his face covered in dirt. Just now, he had martial qi to protect his body. Although his hair was burnt, he was not injured. Do you have any questions? Uncle Gui, who was questioned again, asked with a serious expression. Tang Yuanqing was not convinced that he had lost the match. As an external aid, he was not afraid of offending Uncle Gui. He pointed at Xiao Chen and said, You cheated. Just now, you were just sneak attacking me with fire. What kind of ability is that? If you have the ability, let's have a fair and square match. That's right, too shameless. You actually relied on such a despicable method to win. Jia Huiyan could not stand up for a long time. His throat was hoarse. Enduring the pain, he turned to Jia Jinyan and said, Grandpa, I think this match should not be counted. We should have a new match. He was not as lucky as Tang Yuanqing. Before he could circulate his mental cultivation to defend, he was hit by the fireball. His defenseless body was burned red, and even his clothes were burned. He looked very miserable. I say, Jia Huiyan, why are you so childish? Losing the match is losing, but you still have to find an excuse. If you really became the patriarch, then the Jia family would be hopeless. Apart from being a rascal, there is nothing good about them. Jia Muzhen, who was standing below the arena, glanced at Jia Huiyan and mocked him with contempt. Jia Huiyan was furious when he heard this. He did not know where he got the strength from, but he got up and pointed at Jia Muzhen and angrily cursed. What nonsense are you talking about? Who is being a rascal? It is clearly Xiao Chun who deliberately played dirty. He won unfairly, so I raised my objection. How can it be considered as being a rascal? Without waiting for Jia Muzhen to open his mouth to counterattack, a snickering sound suddenly came from the surroundings. Many of the disciples and the surrounding imperial guards covered their mouths with strange expressions on their faces. Some of them even pointed at Jia Huiyan and whispered to each other. Xiao Chun shook his head and looked at Jia Huiyan with disgust. TSK, do you think you are shooting an action film? What are you blindly swinging around with a toothpick? Even if you are not afraid of losing face, you still have to consider the Jia family's face, right? There are still outsiders here. What Japanese action movie? What toothpick? Are you stupid? F***K. Jia Huiyan was baffled at first and didn't think much of it. It was only until the surrounding disciples' laughter became louder and louder, and their gazes became more and more unbridled, that Jia Huiyan felt something was wrong. He looked down and discovered that the clothes on his body had been completely burned, and he was currently in a vacuum state. Jia Huiyan was embarrassed and anxious. He hurriedly tore a piece of cloth from Jia Shouji's clothes and tried his best to cover the important parts. He felt that everyone was laughing at him, and he was so embarrassed that he wanted to dig a hole in the ground. As if performing a magic trick, Xiao Chun took out a bottle of eye drops from who knows where, and put on a show of seriousness. He helplessly sighed and said, "Sigh. I came to participate in the clan's tournament, but I didn't expect to see such an unclean thing. What bad luck. I hope I don't get a needle's eye when I go back." The whispers under the stage grew louder, and there were even whistles. Jia Huiyan glared at Xiao Chun with hatred, but he couldn't find any words to refute. Dong dong dong. Just when Jia Huiyan's face was about to turn purple, Jia Jinyan frowned and heavily knocked on the table. The laughing people under the stage instantly quieted down. Jia Jinyan's face darkened for a while before he opened his mouth and said, "For this match, Mu Sen's side wins. Either Xiao Chun or Mu Sun can continue to challenge other people. As for the other matters, don't say any more." Since the old master had spoken, the others naturally didn't dare to say anything else. Jia Huiyan could only suppress the anger in his heart and hurriedly put on his new clothes. He grumbled to Tang Yuansheng, complaining about his incompetence. Usually, he could boast so much, but in the end, he was defeated by Xiao Chun with a few balls of fire. Tang Yuansheng also felt wronged. He didn't even have time to use his true strength. Chapter 1045. He originally thought that he could easily win by relying on his unique weapon. He did not expect Xiao Chun to have such a strange martial technique that was not inferior to his own. In the end, he fell into a pit. "Oh, the initiative is finally in my hands." Xiao Chun took a few deep breaths and did a few chest expansion movements in a refreshed manner. He then twisted his neck and turned his head to the side family descendants below the stage and waved. "Jia Shuluo, Jia Shirlei, and Jia Raijing, hurry up and come up here. And that dog Jia, where the hell did he go? Hurry up and give your points. Don't wait for this young master to find you personally." "Ahem, Xiao Chun, don't talk nonsense. That person's name is Jia Qinyu." Jia Muzhen understood Xiao Chun's intention. He wanted to help him gain points, but he was too arrogant. Who would directly call someone from the Jia family a dog? What if he accidentally angered Grandpa? Jia Muzhen stole a glance at his grandpa in the stands and saw that Jia Jinyan's face was ashen. His expression was very unhappy, but he did not seem to have any intention of reprimanding Jia Jinyan. "Oh, that's about it. As long as the words can convey the meaning, it's fine." Xiao Chun waved his hand indifferently and said impatiently, "What? This young master's words don't work, right? I called you up on stage, but you didn't come up. What is the meaning of this? Are you still going to compete or not?" I admit defeat." I also admit defeat. Jia Qunyu and I both admit defeat. Jia Raijing, Jia Shirlei, and Jia Shiluo's faces were pale as they said in unison. Because Jia Qunyu was still operating the computer outside, Jia Shiluo also said it for him. Anyway, this coward would definitely not go up on stage to fight with Xiao Chun. Jia Huiyan's expression was not worried. Obviously, he was a little dissatisfied with the side family descendants' cold feet. However, he also knew that even if they went up on stage, they could only hold their heads and take a beating. So even if they admitted defeat, he had nothing to say. Xiao Chun nodded his head in satisfaction. He turned to Jia Jinyan and cupped his hands, saying, "Old Patriarch, since these people are so obedient and took the initiative to give points to Jia Muzin, the heir of the Patriarch, then can you directly give Jia Muzin 4 more Patriarch points?" Yes, indeed. Jia Jinyan did not object. After all, Xiao Chun had called out everyone's name. It was the other party who chose to admit defeat and did not break the rules. Therefore, he nodded and immediately added 4 points to Jia Muzin on the table. "All right, Jia Tuyao, now, do you want to come up here and give your points to me? Or let your helper come up here and exercise his muscles?" Xiao Chun saw that Jia Muzin's position, as the successor of Jia Muzin, was basically as stable as a mountain. Therefore, what he needed to do next was to give Jia Tuyao a warning. "Xiao Chun, you little bastard. Don't think that you can be so arrogant just because you won some points from a few cowards who can't even fight." Before Jia Tuyao could open his mouth, Bai Songyan took the initiative to walk towards the stage. "Oh, you actually said that those people of the Jia clan are all cowards? Was it appropriate to say that? Will it harm your internal unity?" Xiao Chun asked in surprise. Only now did Bai Songyan realize that in order to ridicule Xiao Chun, he had offended all of Jia Tuyao's allies. He took a glance down the stage and found that the faces of those people were indeed a bit stiff. However, at this moment he had no time to care about that. He snorted coldly, expressionlessly looked at Xiao Chun and said, "Cut the crap. If you can only throw fireballs, this kind of small trick, then I can tell you clearly that you will lose this game for sure." "Oh, it seems that you are quite confident. Then take this." Xiao Chun had already put his hands behind his back and silently condensed 2 fireballs. Before his voice faded, he had already thrown them towards Bai Songyan. Once the fireballs were thrown out, Xiao Chun quickly condensed another 2 fireballs and threw them towards Bai Songyan from 2 tricky angles. For fireballs flew out in weird arcs. Some of them were aimed at Bai Songyan's face, while some were aimed at his back. It seemed to be a close call, but Bai Songyan seemed to have already grasped the flying routes of these fireballs. With an unknown step skill, he easily dodged the fireballs, then darted towards Xiao Chun at an extremely high speed. How can this be? Xiao Chun was slightly startled. When he was about to defend himself, a dazzling white light suddenly flashed across his eyes. At that moment, Xiao Chun couldn't see anything clearly. When he came back to his senses, he saw Bai Songyan's fist growing bigger and bigger in front of his eyes. It was already too late for him to dodge. Bang! Caught off guard, Xiao Chun's face took a solid punch, and he took 2 steps back. Before he could steady himself, another white light flashed across the corner of his eyes. Suddenly, everything in front of him turned white. Alarms went off in Xiao Chun's heart. Before he could retreat in time, the white light followed closely behind. His lower abdomen suffered another heavy kick. It was so painful that he almost vomited out his gallbladder. Holy sh*t, what the hell is this? Xiao Chun tried his best to dodge left and right. He was a little puzzled. Why was there a dazzling white light every time before Bai Songyan attacked? Most people's defense was to observe the opponent's attack pattern and make the corresponding dodging or defensive strategy. However, this white light was not only dazzling, but it also blocked people's vision. It was impossible to see the opponent's attack pattern. Even if he wanted to dodge or defend, he couldn't figure it out. After suffering a few losses, Xiao Chun couldn't help but feel a headache. Hee, do you feel that your eyes are going blind? Bai Songyan used the white light to punch again, knocking Xiao Chun to the ground. Then he retreated not far away and said proudly, "Didn't you notice that I wore gloves today? Let me tell you, my gloves and shoes are equipped with a special laser ray emitting device. As long as I aim the ray at the opponent's eyes when I punch or kick, I can make the opponent unable to see clearly for a short time. You should have seen the white light just now, right? That's the ray. Xiao Chen spat out the blood in his mouth, endured the heat on his face, stood up, and said disdainfully, I didn't expect that a dignified martial artist would like to use such despicable tricks. Planting flowers in grass, shooting light rays. It seems like it's all fake. Hehe, you can talk for a while. The best is yet to come. Bai Songyan put away the laser ray emitting device and sneered. Just now, Tang Yuanqing made a mistake and let you get lucky. I won't make such a low-level mistake again. Watch my palm. Before he finished speaking, Bai Songyan activated his mental cultivation method and revealed his strength. He was a stage 2 martial venerable. Then, he struck his palm out of thin air, and a ferocious and powerful martial qi attacked the position where Xiao Chen was standing. Xiao Chen was shocked. He had thought that Tang Yuanqing's peak stage 1 martial venerable was already the best of the best. He didn't expect Bai Songyan's strength to be even higher. Chapter 1046. He subconsciously dodged to the side, trying to avoid Bai Songyan's palm wind, but something unexpected happened again. What the hell is this? Just as he took a step to the left, Xiao Chen felt his left arm and left leg suddenly come into contact with a few threads that were as thin as hair. Before he could even react, his hands and feet were immediately cut into several wounds, revealing shallow bloody marks. After dodging the martial qi, Xiao Chen stabilized his body and carefully observed his surroundings again, only to find that he had been surrounded by a layer of thin threads that looked like a spider web. Looking closely, he saw that each thread was extremely thin, but they were all shining with a sharp light, looking extremely sharp, and also emitting a faint martial qi. It seems that you have found something interesting again. Bai Songyan looked at Xiao Chen's cautious look, shaking his legs leisurely and mocking him. Don't waste your time struggling in vain. The thin threads around you are called the heavenly silk net. They are all made of special materials. Not only are they incomparably tough and sharp, but they are also smeared with special grease. They are not afraid of being cut by knives or burned by fire. Your methods are completely useless. So I advise you to admit defeat as soon as possible, so that you can suffer less physical pain. After saying that, Bai Songyan shouted, once again striking a palm at Xiao Chen from afar, launching an attack with martial qi. It was not that Bai Songyan did not want to fight in close combat, but he felt that Xiao Chen was a bit strange and unpredictable, with endless tricks up his sleeves. If he was too close, it was very likely that he would be accidentally hit like Tang Yuanqing just now, so he would rather stand far away, first to ensure his own safety, and then choose to use the laser ray device and the silk net to control Xiao Chen. Seeing that Bai Songyan's palm wind was getting closer and closer, Xiao Chen's mind suddenly flashed, and he decided to do a more risky experiment. He first circulated his martial qi to protect his body, to ensure that he would not be too seriously injured. And then when Bai Songyan's palm wind arrived in front of him, he also fiercely struck a palm. Boom! With a loud bang, Xiao Chen's yuan qi and Bai Songyan's palm wind collided heavily under the silk heavenly net. Because Xiao Chen had deliberately delayed his attack, the collision of yuan qi and martial qi was equivalent to an explosion in front of his eyes. His internal organs were shaken to the point that they almost shifted. Although he held on and did not get blown away, the feeling of his qi and blood surging was also very uncomfortable. Pooh! After enduring for a while, Xiao Chen finally couldn't hold on any longer and spat out a mouthful of blood. The thin thread around him only fluctuated slightly in this explosion. Not only did it not turn into ashes, it didn't even show any signs of breaking. You're not thinking of using the vibration of the explosion to break the silk net, are you? Bai Songyan, who was watching from afar, keenly judged Xiao Chen's thoughts. He smiled faintly and said, if I had used all my strength to attack just now, perhaps your plan could have succeeded. But in that case, you would have died without a doubt. Exchanging your life for Jia Tuyao's disqualification, I would never do such a stupid thing. I didn't expect that you would see through my trick. It seems that this trick doesn't work. I have to think of another way. Although Xiao Chen said that he would not admit defeat, he was just saying it. In fact, he had no idea what to do at all. I advise you not to waste your energy. Just be honest and admit defeat directly. Otherwise, with the silk heavenly net, you wouldn't even dare to move, and I can keep hitting you until you pass out. Anyway, this is still a win. Bai Songyan sneered, gathered his martial chi in his palm again and asked, "How about it? Do you want to continue to suffer, or admit defeat obediently?" Xiao Chen clenched his fists and remained silent. His brain was quickly thinking about how to break the silk heavenly net, but no matter how hard he thought, he could not come up with any solution. It seemed that everything he had learned in the past could not be of any use in this situation. Below the stage, Jia Tuyao's face was filled with excitement, and he even wanted to cheer loudly. As for Jia Muzhen, his face was filled with anxiety. At the moment, everyone could see that Xiao Chen was at a disadvantage. He wanted to yell at Xiao Chen to give up, but he dared not to disturb the progress of the match. Although he was as anxious as an ant on a hot pan, Jia Muzhen could only stare at Xiao Chen anxiously, hoping that he could be like before and produce another miracle at the most critical moment, turning the situation around. However, the most important thing was to preserve his life. Even if Xiao Chen admitted defeat right now, he would not have any complaints. "Alas, Xiao Chen, I don't want to talk to you anymore. Don't you know how to use your brain? It seems that I have to help you solve this problem." Before Xiao Chen could come up with a solution, the Elder Heaven Ancestor could not stand it anymore, and directly took over his body. Then I'd better learn your method. I can also take a break." Hearing the words of the Elder Heaven Ancestor, Xiao Chen calmed down and immediately relaxed the control of his body. Then, he felt his vision suddenly go black, and when it became bright again, his primordial spirit was already in the sea of consciousness. "Then watch carefully," the Elder Heaven Ancestor shouted in a low voice, controlling Xiao Chen's body. He directly stretched out his hand, grabbed the surrounding silk, and gradually released waves of cold air from his palm, slowly freezing the silk. "Ha ha ha. Xiao Chen, are you stupid? Are you trying to pull the silk by force?" "What?" Bai Songyan saw Xiao Chen grabbing the silk, and at first, he was very sneering, thinking that Xiao Chen was crazy, and wanted to pull the rope at the risk of his whole hand being cut off. But when he saw a layer of white fog slowly emerging from Xiao Chen's palm and spreading to the silk, he felt that something was wrong, and his face gradually changed. Not long after, the silk around Xiao Chen was all wrapped up by the white fog and frozen into pieces of ice. "Little bastard, you want to trap me with this broken thing? It's a joke." The Elder Heaven Ancestor sneered and gently pulled with his hand. With a few light snapping sounds, the ice wrapped around the silk broke and directly fell on the arena, turning into snow water. "No, impossible. This silk is a product of ancient times. How could it be broken so easily?" Bai Songyan was so surprised that he could not close his mouth and could not believe what had happened in front of him. He relied on the laser firing device and the silk net to run amok in Jianghu, and he had never seen anyone who could break this special silk. He did not expect that Xiao Chen could destroy it so easily. Not far away, in the stands, a strange light flashed in Jia Jinyan's eyes, and he looked at Xiao Chen with a burning gaze. Obviously, he was very appreciative of his endless martial arts skills. "Alright, the fun game ends here. I can't be bothered to waste any more time with you. Let's get serious next." Xiao Chen stretched his muscles and did not say anything else as he slammed his palm towards Bai Songyan. Chapter 1047. Thanks to the possession of the Elder Heaven Ancestor, Xiao Chen's cultivation had increased by 1 level. The moment he rushed out, he revealed the strength of a level 2 venerable. "Huh, you're also hiding your strength." Bai Songyan had yet to recover from his previous shock. Seeing this, he was shocked once again. He did not dare to be careless against an attack of the same level. He immediately circulated the martial chi in his body and fiercely waved his palm, forcibly meeting Xiao Chen's chi. Boom! The two chi violently collided with each other. The entire arena shook. Xiao Chen and Bai Songyan spat out blood at the same time and were sent flying. They fell heavily on the edge of the arena and did not move for a long time. It seemed that both of them were seriously injured. The judge Uncle Gui quickly ran over and checked their breathing. He found that both of them were still alive. However, Xiao Chen's injuries were more serious, and Bai Songyan's injuries were not so good either. After spitting out a few mouthfuls of blood, he forced himself to sit up. Elder Heaven Ancestor, why did you withdraw part of your martial qi just now? Why didn't you just use your full strength to deal with him? Xiao Chen's primordial spirit asked in surprise. He felt that when the Elder Heaven Ancestor attacked, he secretly withdrew 20% of his martial qi. On the other hand, Bai Songyan used 10% of his martial qi in a moment of desperation. With this, Xiao Chen's side was at a disadvantage, so he was a little puzzled. What do you know? If I didn't withdraw my martial qi, he would have been killed long ago. Wouldn't your previous efforts be in vain? Elder Heaven Ancestor said impatiently. Besides, I'm still maintaining the stability of the martial qi in your body. If I used my full strength, it would easily cause a backlash. But it seems that you are the one who is more seriously injured. How are you going to defeat him? Xiao Chen thought for a while and said, why don't we just admit defeat? We have enough points anyway. There's no need to fight to the death. It was not that Xiao Chen was afraid, but he felt that if he was injured too badly, Jia Huoyan and Jia Tuya would take the opportunity to cause trouble. Without him, Jia Muzin might not be able to suppress them with his strength. Don't worry. You have quite a lot of essence stored in your body. I'll just borrow some of it. It just so happens that the remaining essence is more stable. Elder Heaven Ancestor spat out a mouthful of blood. He controlled Xiao Chen's body to stand up and said, but after this competition is over, you have to hurry up and raise your level. Otherwise, both of us will be finished. Xiao Chen nodded repeatedly in the sea of divine sense. He thought that after the competition was over, he would immediately go to the heavenly jade mine to practice in seclusion and break through as soon as possible. Otherwise, his cultivation would be too weak in the inner martial arts world, where venerables were everywhere. If they were not careful, they would fall into danger. Bai Songyan also stood up at this time, wiped the bloodstain at the corner of his mouth, and said in a deep voice, I didn't expect you to be so sinister, knowing to hide your strength. Since I can't kill you today, then I might as well cripple you. If I let you continue, you will definitely become a threat to Jia Tuyao in the future. Humph, little brat, how dare you say that you want to cripple my cultivation with your insignificant strength? Elder Heaven Ancestor retorted sarcastically. Then, he quickly extracted a part of the essence stored in the sea of divine sense, which instantly raised Xiao Chen's cultivation by half a level. Then, without hesitation, he raised his palm and slapped towards Bai Songyan's chest. You are actually at the peak of level 2 of the venerable realm. Bai Songyan, who was arrogant just now, was completely dumbfounded. However, he didn't have time to think too much at this moment. The great pressure was pressing down on him, and he had no choice but to brace himself and push out his palm with all his strength. Boom! A strong shock wave spread out from the arena, which directly sent Uncle Gui, who was standing on the edge of the arena, flying out. Those who were relatively close to the arena were also shaken to the ground. Wood chips and stones flew everywhere, and the whole arena was in chaos. Jia Muzin's face turned pale with fright. He wanted to rush into the arena, but he was afraid that the match was not over yet. So, he stood up from the ground and stood on his tiptoes to watch, but he could only see the thick smoke covering the entire arena. Jia Jinyan sat still, without any change in his expression. It was hard to tell whether he was happy or angry, but he looked mysterious. As the smoke finally dispersed, a motionless figure gradually emerged on the arena. Jia Muzin took off his dusty glasses, wiped them on his clothes, and then put them back on. After taking a closer look, he found that the figure was actually Xiao Chen. Except for Xiao Chen, there was no one else on the arena. Jia Muzin turned his head again, and found that on the other side of the arena, Bai Songyan was lying on the ground, twitching. His eyes were rolled up, and he was unconscious. His mouth and nose were constantly bubbling with blood. It seemed that his injuries were very serious, and it seemed that his life was in danger. Although Uncle Gui was sent flying, fortunately, he was not in the center of the explosion, so he was not hurt. At this time, he had already rushed back, ran to Bai Songyan's side, and checked his pulse. His expression slightly changed, but he still stood up and reported loudly. Bai Songyan is still alive, but 80% of his tendons and veins are broken. Even if he is cured, he will be a useless person for the rest of his life. After reporting, Uncle Gui took out a pill from his pocket, leaned over and put it into Bai Songyan's mouth, then stood up and ordered the guards to carry him away to rest. Seeing Bai Songyan being carried away, Jia Tuya was very angry and shouted, "Grandpa, this time, Xiaochen broke the rules, right? If Uncle Gui didn't save him in time, Bai Songyan would definitely die this time, and our Jia family will inevitably become enemies with his school. Jia Muzin is so reckless. I think he should be disqualified." "Tuyao, don't make trouble," Jia Jinyan said in a low voice. Although Bai Songyan almost lost his life, Xiaochen indeed won the game with his own strength. Therefore, he didn't break the rules in this game, and he can get points. After saying this, Jia Jinyan slightly sighed in his heart. Jia Huyen and Jia Tuyao were the two direct descendants that he especially valued, and he valued them much more than Jia Muzin, who had run away from home. He didn't expect that they would always like to play this kind of trick to suppress their opponents. He couldn't help but feel a little disappointed. This is still not breaking the rules? Jia Tuyao's expression was both sullen and helpless. He felt that he had suffered a great loss this time. In order to teach Xiaochen a lesson, he almost lost Bai Songyan's life. Not only did he lose the game, he also had to face the anger and blame of his school. Just thinking about it gave him a headache. "Jia Tuyao, don't play this old trick. Even if you don't get tired of it, I do. If you have the guts, come up here and have a fight with me. I'll play with you anytime." Xiaochen's face didn't look too good, and he coldly mocked. Who wants to fight with you? Later, when we have to fight with outsiders, you'll have a hard time." How could Jia Tuyao dare to fight against Xiaochen, who was at the peak of the second layer of the Venerable Realm? Chapter 1048. Then don't talk nonsense. Although the expression on Xiaochen's face didn't change, he was secretly relieved. Just now, he had already suffered internal injuries, and he had activated his power to defeat Bai Songyan. Now he was almost exhausted. If Jia Tuyao was really irritated and insisted on fighting against him, he might be able to knock him down with only one finger. However, Jia Tuyao was also a coward. He didn't dare to challenge Jihao at all. After adjusting his breathing for a while, Xiaochen recovered a portion of his strength. Then, he cupped his hands at Jia Jinyan and asked without batting an eyelid, "Old Patriarch, I seem to have already challenged all the participants. The competition should be over, right? Can you announce the results now?" "Yes, the challenge competition is over. Jia Muzin's team is the final winner." Jia Jinyan nodded and continued, "Since this is the second to last round of the competition, the next round will be the final external competition. I will announce the total results of all the participating disciples, so that everyone can have an idea of what's going on." The few young men who had been whispering to each other immediately shut their mouths and looked at Jia Jinyan on the stand. In fact, they all had a rough idea about the results, but it was different when it was announced by the family head. Jia Jinyan paused for a while, looked down at the table and read the current results. Jia Muzin is in first place, with 13 points. Jia Tuyao and Jia Renzhong are tied for second place, with 5 points each. Jia Huyan is in third place, with 3 points. Jia Shirlei and Jia Raijing are in second place, with 2 points each. Jia Tsugui and Jia Shougui are in third place. After reading the results, Jia Jinyan looked around and found that all the young men had different expressions. Some were angry, some were full of confidence, and some were dejected and had lost their fighting spirit. Seeing everyone's expression, Jia Jinyan knocked on the table and said, "Well, this morning's internal competition is over. Everyone can take a break, and later we will draw lots to randomly decide the opponents of the external competition in the afternoon. I hope that the young men with lower points can keep working hard, and those with higher points, don't be too proud. Keep your good results." Although he said so, Jia Huyan and Jia Tuyao were still shocked. They knew that Jia Muzin's points were higher than theirs, but they didn't expect it to be so much higher. 13 points. How could this be possible? How did he get it? Wasn't the difference too great? Both of them found it hard to believe. Perhaps seeing through everyone's thoughts, Jia Jinyan simply gestured for his trusted aide to operate the computer and list out the points obtained by everyone in each match. He made an electronic file and then displayed it on the big screen. Looking at the total score, although Jia Huiyan and Jia Tuyao were still not convinced, they had no way to vent their anger. Therefore, they could only hope that this afternoon's match could help them turn over a new leaf. At this time, Jia Muzin did not have the time to be happy. He had already noticed that Xiao Qin's complexion was not quite right. As soon as his grandfather's voice fell, he hurriedly ran into the ring and helped Xiao Qin down. As he walked, he asked worriedly, "How are you? I was almost scared to death just now. In fact, we have accumulated a lot of points, so you didn't have to work so hard." "I'm fine, I can still hold on." Xiao Qin comforted him, then shook his head with a bitter smile and said, "But I'm afraid I can't participate in this afternoon's match. More importantly, we still don't know how the points will be calculated in the external matches. If we don't participate in the match, and Jia Huiyan or Jia Tiao get a high score, we will suffer a great loss." While Jia Jinyan was talking, Xiao Qin adjusted his breath while calling Elder Heaven Ancestor in his mind for a few times. However, he found that Elder Heaven Ancestor didn't respond at all, as if Elder Heaven Ancestor had fallen into a deep sleep. At the moment, his physical condition was quite bad. Even if his external injuries could be healed before the match, his power wouldn't be restored so quickly. Therefore, Xiao Qin couldn't help but feel a bit worried. "Forget it, it's fine. I, Jia Muzin, can already die without regret, being able to make friends with you. As for the position of family head, I don't care about that position at all. Whoever wants to be the family head can be it." Jia Muzin waved his hand and said with a resolute face, "Anyway, no matter who my opponent is this afternoon, I will give up the match. You take care of your injuries, and don't participate in the match for me anymore." Jia Muzin felt very guilty. He would rather not be the family head of the Jia family than let Xiao Qin take risks. As the saying goes, one would do anything for one's brother. For him, Xiao Qin would even lose his life. Such a sincere brother. How could he let him put himself in danger again? "What nonsense are you talking about? It wasn't easy to get to this point. How can you just give up like that? You don't need to worry about it. Just leave the drawing of lots to me." Xiao Qin waved his hand, found a chair, sat down and continued to adjust his breath. Meanwhile, he was thinking about how to let Jia Muzin draw a weak opponent. What made Xiao Qin depressed was that he wasn't familiar enough with the situation of the inner pugilistic world. Although he knew how to influence the results of the drawing of lots, he couldn't find a suitable opponent. After all, with Jia Muzin's strength, it was really not easy to find an evenly matched opponent in the inner pugilistic world. Moreover, he didn't know what level the people in the inner pugilistic world were at. Even if the name list came out, he could only rely on luck. Moreover, besides Jia Muzin, Xiao Qin was still thinking about finding an opponent for Jia Rinzhong. He had helped him lay the foundation for so much. Now that it was the last match, Xiao Qin didn't want to fail miserably. He had to help Jia Rinzhong win the position of elder in one fell swoop. Everyone should have rested enough, right? After a while, Jia Jinyan stood up and said loudly, "Next, let's begin the random drawing of lots for the outer competition in the afternoon." Jia Jinyan gave a look to his confidant beside him. That confidant nodded, tapped a few times on the keyboard, and then pressed the left mouse button. Soon, the names of Jia Muzin and the other contestants appeared on the left side of the big screen, lined up in a row. Not long after, the names of other sex candidates appeared on the originally blank right side. After the two columns of names stayed for a while, they began to move up and down, randomly combining. I think everyone has seen it just now. Your opponents are all young talents that the Jia family has invited from the inner pugilistic world. Every one of them has been strictly screened. Regardless of age or strength, they are about the same as you. Therefore, there won't be a problem of too big a difference in strength to ensure the fairness of the competition. Jia Jinyan explained indifferently. Xiao Qin squinted at the names on the big screen. Suddenly his eyes lit up. he discovered two very familiar names. With a thought, Xiao Chen immediately released his mental strength and used his divine sense to find the hiding position of Jia Quincy outside the martial arts arena. He directly used his mental strength to control him and made him quickly tap a few times on the notebook, secretly changing the fighting combination. Chapter 1049. What happened? After Xiao Chen successfully modified it, he immediately withdrew his mental power control. Jia Kusa blinked and gradually regained his consciousness. He looked at the laptop in front of him and was very inexplicable. What did I just do? Why can't I remember it all of a sudden? However, Jia Kusa didn't have time to recall. He quickly operated the computer and found a weaker opponent for Jia Huiyan. He didn't bother to modify the rest. He hit the enter key and sent the result out. The big screen quickly showed the match list. Jia Muzin was stunned after a glance. He said with a stunned face, "Why am I fighting against young Master Xing? Isn't the difference in strength a bit too big? Where is that Shi Yuchuan who is fighting against everyone from? I've never heard of him. Not bad, right? I specially arranged this young Master Xing for you. As for that Shi Yuchuan, don't bother about him. He's just a weakling." As Xiao Chen treated his injuries, he admired his masterpiece. Coincidentally, he knew these two people in the martial arts world, so he could arrange for them to enter. That young Master Xing is at the level of Demon King Great Perfection. How can I beat her? Jia Muzin was suddenly depressed. If the opponent was weaker, then there was still room for him to score points. He didn't expect to get a young Master Xing. He really didn't know what Xiao Chen was thinking. What's there to worry about? With me here, you don't have to be afraid of anything. Xiao Chen shrugged. It might be a bit difficult to deal with others, but he was extremely experienced in dealing with little Miss Xing. He could easily catch a snail with 3 fingers. Jia Muzin misunderstood and thought that Xiao Chen was going to play for him again. He quickly stopped him. "No, you're so seriously injured. Aren't you joking with your life if you go on stage? Besides, Grandpa hasn't announced the rules of the game yet. I don't know if foreign aid can go on stage. Maybe the afternoon game can only be played by the disciples of the Jia family? Don't worry, I won't go up." Xiao Chen could not help but laugh when he saw Jia Muzin's nervous expression. "At most, I'll just stand below the stage and threaten her. I don't believe that damn transvestite would really dare to make a move on you." Jia Muzin nodded. "It's hard to say. I heard that in order to invite these external guests, the Jia family has prepared generous rewards. As long as you win the invitational tournament, you can get a lot of high-quality spiritual jades. If young Master Xing becomes envious of those spirit jades, wouldn't I?" Jia Muzin said with a bitter face. Jia Muzin had no intention of blaming Xiao Chen, but now that the match between him and young Master Xing was set in stone, it was too late for regrets. It seemed like he could only admit defeat. "Don't worry, if this little girl sees me, she absolutely won't dare to do anything to you." Xiao Chen patted Jia Muzin's shoulder and said without a care in the world. Jia Muzin did not know where Xiao Chen's confidence came from. He could only smile bitterly and nod his head. Although he had complete trust in Xiao Chen, words were no guarantee. The temptation of the spiritual jades was too great. Who knew what the result would be? Therefore, Jia Muzin's heart was still a little unsettled. The name list has been announced. Now, everyone should know who you will be fighting against, right? If you have nothing to do, you can go eat and rest. At 2 o'clock in the afternoon, gather at the martial arts hall on time to start the external competition. Jia Jinyan announced with a dignified face. He whispered a few words to his trusted aides, then hurriedly left the martial arts hall and went to the study room to prepare for the calculation of points for the afternoon competition. Jia Jinyan's trusted aides immediately took out their mobile phones and notified those who came to participate in the competition. At the same time, they arranged for people to immediately pick them up and bring them to the Jia family. Jia Huiyan and Jia Tuyao's expressions were quite relaxed. It seemed like they had been assigned a more suitable opponent. Although the difference in points between them and Jia Muzin was relatively large, the two of them agreed that as long as they could win the afternoon competition, they might have a chance to take the position of the successor. Moreover, seeing that Jia Muzin's opponent was young Master Xing, who was much weaker than him, and Xiao Chen seemed to be injured in the battle with Bai Songyin in the morning, it was estimated that he would not be able to participate in the competition again. Jia Huoyan and Jia Tiao both felt that he would definitely lose the afternoon competition. After a hurried lunch, Xiao Chen adjusted his breathing for a while, and finally recovered a lot from his injuries. He was not too worried about the external competition in the afternoon. At the moment, his most important task was to find spiritual jades as soon as possible to promote himself. Otherwise, once he encountered danger, it would be very troublesome. At present, Xiao Chen's state could be said to be extremely poor. After the battle with Bai Songyan, the Elder Heaven Ancestor was seriously injured and directly entered a state of dormancy. Moreover, the flame of the underworld and Xiaoma had not yet woken up. His trump card was basically useless. The only person who could barely help him was probably Cheng Menjing. In fact, what puzzled Xiao Chen the most was why the flame of the underworld and Xiaoma had been dormant for such a long time this time. In the past, if they were injured, they would basically wake up in a month. This time, it seemed that it had been nearly half a year, but these two still had not moved. However, after careful consideration, Xiao Chen roughly understood the reason. In order to prepare for breaking through to the nascent soul stage, the vitality in his body was stored by the Elder Heaven Ancestor. Presumably, the flame of the underworld and Xiaoma had not been able to absorb enough vitality, so they could not recover from their dormancy. At 2 o'clock in the afternoon, everyone gathered in the martial arts arena on time. The people who were invited to participate in the competition from other sects had also arrived. Many acquaintances were chatting at the scene. There was no atmosphere of a competition at all. Instead, it was more like they were here to play. Some of the participants were whispering, saying that they were following the instructions of the sect or family elders. There seemed to be a reward for coming to the competition this time, but they did not know what it was. A small portion of the participants were interested in the rewards. However, the majority of the honored guests were indifferent. The people who were invited were basically the proud sons and daughters of their clans, or the rising stars of their sections. They possessed outstanding strength and talent. Normally, their sects or clans would provide them with heavenly materials and earthly treasures. If it wasn't for some extremely precious reward, it wouldn't have attracted their attention. All participants, please be quiet. Master Jia has begun to announce the rules of the competition. Uncle Gui received Jia Jinyan's instructions and stood up and said loudly. Although it was slower than the silence in the morning, the noise in the arena gradually subsided. Everyone looked at Jia Jinyan, wanting to hear what the rules of the competition were. Listen up, Jia family disciples, Jia Jinyan said in a loud voice. In this external competition, only you can participate in the competition. The external helpers you have invited are not allowed to have any force assistance. They can only give tactical advice and cheer on the spot. Otherwise, you will be disqualified from the competition, and all your points will be deducted. Chapter 1050. At this point, Jia Jinyan looked at Xiao Chen meaningfully, as if warning him to restrain himself and not to play any tricks like he did in the morning. Although Xiao Chen felt Jia Jinyan's gaze, he did not pay much attention to it. He focused on identifying where Xing and Shi Yuchuan were. After confirming that both of them had arrived, he was relieved. Jia Jinyan looked at him and retracted his gaze. He continued, "This competition will end when it is determined. If the Jia family wins, they will get 3 points. If not, 3 points will be deducted. If the other sects or families win, they will get the corresponding amount of spiritual jades as compensation. If they lose, they will only get a small portion of the spiritual jades as compensation. Is everyone clear?" "Understood," the audience replied in unison. However, the expressions of those who were invited to participate were no longer as calm as before. Their mentality had undergone a subtle change. They did not expect the reward to be spiritual jades. Originally, the guests thought that no matter how powerful they were, it would only be some heaven and earth treasures or spiritual weapons. Therefore, they had a nonchalant attitude and planned to just exchange some pointers. However, when they found out that the Jia family was actually giving out spiritual jades as a reward, they were instantly energized. Spiritual jades were even more awesome than heaven and earth treasures. They could not be obtained even if they wanted to. Now that they had such a rare opportunity, they had to give it their all and get a few more. Martial arts sects never forbade the young disciples from exchanging pointers with each other. Instead, they encouraged them to do so. After all, exchanging pointers with each other was more beneficial to the growth of the disciples. The only rule for exchanging pointers was that one could not use too much force or cause death or disability. Otherwise, it would not be a simple exchanging pointers. Not only would a good seedling be destroyed, it would definitely cause unnecessary conflicts between sections. If anyone has any questions, you can raise them now. Jia Jinyan was a little worried and repeated, "If we wait until the competition starts, then we will assume that it is to solve the rules. There will be no additional explanations." "Old Master Jia, I would like to ask a question." A familiar voice sounded. Xiao Chen looked up and saw that it was Xing, who came to participate in the competition. She stepped forward and cupped her hands. "So it's young Master Xing. Please tell me, I will definitely answer." Jia Jinyan obviously knew young Master Xing. At this moment, he was stroking his beard with a smile. Young Master Xing was still dressed like a man. He bowed to Jia Jinyan and said, "I would like to ask, if we outsiders win, how many spirit jades can we get? If you lose, how much will be deducted?" Hee. We naturally welcome guests who are invited to participate in the competition. If the guest can win the competition, he or she will receive 20 pieces of spiritual jades as a reward. If he or she loses, they will only receive half of it. Jia Jinyan smiled and patiently explained, "Okay, thank you for your guidance, Old Master Jia." Little Miss Xing nodded her head in understanding and retreated back into the crowd. She lowered her head as if she was thinking about something. The honored guest's expression became even hotter. 20 pieces of spirit jades. Even if he lost, he would still get 10 pieces of spiritual jades. Usually, it was a little difficult for his own sect to obtain a piece of spiritual jade. The Jia clan was actually so generous. This trip was worth it. After waiting for a while, seeing that no one else came out to speak, Jia Jinyan gestured to his trusted aide and said in a deep voice, "If no one has any more questions, then the competition officially starts now." His trusted aide looked at the matchup list and announced loudly, "The first match, Jia Tuyao against Yunnan Dun. Both of you, please get on the stage immediately and prepare for the match." Pooh. Hearing this name, Xiao Chen almost choked. He looked at Jia Tuyao and another young man walking on the stage with a strange expression. He turned to Jia Muzin and said with a smile, "I thought only your Jia clan's names were strange. I didn't expect that the Yu clan would have a Yunnan Dong. I really don't understand the inner martial arts sects and clans. What are they thinking when they name their clans? I heard that the Yu clan's third-generation disciples must have north, south, east, and west in their names, just like the Jia clan's metal, wood, water, fire, and earth. I heard that this is how the clan's genealogy is arranged." Jia Muzin spread his hands and also didn't know whether to laugh or cry. In fact, he felt that his own name was already considered normal. Those canine mantis and hand mantis were completely incomprehensible to him. "So that's how it is. I was wondering why they didn't choose a more valuable name." Xiao Chen muttered. He looked towards the stage and suddenly cursed. F***CK, how is this a fight? These two people have colluded with each other, haven't they? They are really playing us like monkeys. On the stage, Jia Tuyao and Yunnan Dun were punching and kicking each other. Their movements were so light that they didn't even have the slightest bit of strength. It was completely a fight that was even more fake than a street performer. This is very normal. They are good friends. I guess they have already discussed this before the fight started. Yunnan Dun will definitely lose on purpose, so that Jia Tuyao can get 3 points. Later on, Yunnan Dun will ask Jia Tuyao for some spirit jades as compensation. Jia Muzin wasn't surprised at all, and said with a face full of disdain. Sure enough, as he said, after the two hypocritically exchanged a few rounds of attacks, Yunnan Dun probably felt that they had created enough momentum, so he purposely revealed a flaw. Jia Tuyao seized the opportunity to slap Yunnan Dun with his palm. Yunnan Dun fell to the ground with an ah and directly admitted defeat. Jia Tuyao smoothly won the fight. What disgusted Xiao Chen the most was that after the fight, these two people still seemed to appreciate each other. Jia Tuyao helped Yunnan Dun up from the ground and asked about his well-being in an especially gentlemanly manner. After that, they cupped their fists and saluted each other, then walked down the stage in a natural manner, as if nothing had happened. Xiao Chen rolled his eyes thinking, "Aren't you trying to show your chastity? There are not many fools on the scene. Who can't tell? Do you think others are fools or retarded?" The second match was between Jia Huiyan and a disciple of the Tang clan. Needless to say, this match was originally secretly arranged by Jia Tsugui, so Jia Huiyan easily got 3 points. On the surface, that disciple of the Tang clan had a look of regret, as if he was very regretful that he didn't get 20 pieces of spiritual jades. However, after he left the stage, he immediately put his arm around Jia Huiyan's shoulder and called him brother, as if they were a family. Next, Jia Muzin will fight against young Master Xing. The two of you, please come up the stage and get ready. Below the stage, Xiao Chun and the others were still in a daze as they chatted. However, Uncle Gui, who was in the arena, stared at the two boring matches. He nearly fell asleep. Even when he announced the participants for the next match, his voice sounded weak. "Xiao Chun, I'll go up the stage." Jia Muzin was about to turn his head and tell Xiao Chun, but he saw that Xiao Chun was walking straight towards the stage. Jia Muzin was immediately confused. What is Xiao Chun going to do? Aren't foreign helpers not allowed to participate in the competition? Chapter 1051. Wahahaha. Hey, isn't this the lady boy? We meet again. What a coincidence. Xiao Chun didn't treat himself as an outsider. He walked to the side of the arena and greeted Xing, who was preparing to enter the arena. "Ah, Xiao Chun, what are you doing here?" Xing blinked her eyes in surprise. She didn't pay attention to the people from the Jia family. Now that she saw Xiao Chun suddenly appear in front of her, she was obviously surprised. Jia Huiyan and Jia Tuyao were originally chatting with each other, but when they heard Xiao Chen's words, they immediately turned their heads and stared at Xiao Chen's every move. They were ready to report him to Jia Jinyan if he dared to do anything to threaten Miss Xing. "Oh, isn't this Jia Muzin, who is preparing to be the successor of the Jia family? I just dropped by to help him with a small matter." Xiao Chen walked toward Xing enthusiastically. He kept saying, "Ha ha ha, it's a small world. I didn't expect to meet you here. How are you? How have you been recently?" Along with the greetings, Xiao Chen had already walked in front of Xing. He grabbed her hand and pretended to be affectionate. He sighed in his heart that the skin on this girl's hand was really soft. Xing frowned slightly. She subconsciously wanted to pull her hand out, but Xiao Chen held it firmly. She couldn't break free for a while. Although she was very unwilling, she couldn't figure out whether Xiao Chen was pretending to be intimate or really enthusiastic. It wasn't good for her to directly turn hostile. She could only say in a low voice, Don't mess around. This is the Jia family of the internal martial arts world. Do you think you are still in the secular world?" What are you talking about? My ears aren't good. I can't hear you clearly." Although Xiao Chen said this, he still tactfully let go of her hand. Xing rubbed the back of her hand. She could still feel Xiao Chen's warmth on it. Her little face flushed red. At this moment, except for Jia Muzin, everyone else looked at this scene in surprise. Xiao Chen actually held a man's hand? Furthermore, his actions were so natural and intimate. Could it be that this fellow had some sort of special hobby? Xiao Chen was oblivious to all the surprised and probing gazes. He continued to smile evilly at Miss Xing. "Oh right, do you still remember that Wu Zhifei? It's fun, isn't it? Speaking of which, I've never seen a transvestite fly before. Why don't you try flying today?" I don't know what you are talking about. I came to the Jia clan to participate in the competition. Don't talk nonsense." Lady Xing's face was still flushed red as she made up excuses. This was the first time she had been taken advantage of by a man. The strange feeling of being held by a man lingered for a long time. Seeing that the two of them seemed to be chatting in full swing, Jia Huiyan finally couldn't stand it anymore. Although he didn't know what Xiao Chen's intention was, he guessed that it was definitely not something good. He simply stood up and shouted, "Xiao Chen, what do you mean by that? Young Master Xing is an honored guest invited by grandfather. You cannot be rude to him." "That's right, can't we chat after the competition is over?" Jia Tuyao also responded in a lukewarm tone. "Why do you have to waste other people's time? Don't tell me you want to threaten young Master Xing, so that Jia Muzin can win without a fight? Oh, aren't the two of you too conspiratorial? I originally just wanted to catch up with an old friend. Since the two young masters Luther don't agree, then forget it." Xiao Chen innocently spread out his hands and threw a meaningful smile at Lady Xing. "Young Master Transvestite, I'll say one last thing. Be careful of people flying in the sky." After he finished speaking, Xiao Chen turned around and leisurely returned to the spectator's stand. Lady Xing stared at Xiao Chen's back. In her mind, she couldn't help but recall the scene of Ma Zhifei falling from a height of more than 10 stories and directly becoming a pile of mud. Hiss! Lady Xing couldn't help but shiver. She naturally understood the meaning of Xiao Chen's hint, but she was a little hesitant. She didn't know if she should continue to participate in the competition. After all, compared to spiritual jades, her life was more important. This Xiao Chen was too strange. Not only had his strength skyrocketed, but he also had all kinds of strange moves. Lady Xing was a little scared. "Young Master Xing, you don't need to pay attention to that Xiao Chen. He's always this crazy, and his words are always random. Just go on the stage and compete. If he really dares to disrespect you, let alone the Open Heaven sect, even the Jia family will not let him off easily." Jia Tuyao saw that young Master Xing seemed to be a little scared, so he hurriedly came up and comforted him. What a joke. He was hoping that young Master Xing would beat Jia Muzin up, so that he could vent his anger. How could he back off? "Oh, I'm fine." Lady Xing's body shook, and she came back to her senses. Although she was still a little worried, looking at the expectant audience and Jia Tuyao, who was standing beside her, Lady Xing was afraid that she would be laughed at by others if she backed out of the competition. She could only take a deep breath, pluck up her courage, and walk up to the stage. "Haha, young Master Xing, how are you? I didn't think that we would meet again. Please show mercy." At this time, Jia Muzin was already standing on the stage. He cupped his hands towards Lady Xing and said with a smile. Jia Muzin was actually a little nervous. Just now, after seeing Xiao Chen chatting for so long, he thought that he could scare Lady Xing. He didn't expect that she would still come up to the stage. It seemed that Xiao Chen's plan didn't work. "Ah, what did you say?" Lady Xing was stunned for a moment and asked blankly. She was afraid that she would be plotted against at any time, so her attention was focused on Xiao Chen. She didn't hear what Jia Muzin said at all. After asking this question, she didn't care about Jia Muzin's answer, and turned her head to look at Xiao Chen. It would have been better if she didn't look, but when she looked, she felt even more guilty. She saw that Xiao Chen had found a human-shaped doll out of nowhere. He chuckled and casually threw it into the air. Then, he let the doll fall to the ground with a plop. Then, with a face full of regret, he sighed and said, Hi, a beautiful transvestite girl died just like that. So pitiful, so pitiful. It really scared this Bao to death." Looking at this scene, Lady Xing couldn't help but be angry and flustered. She felt that Xiao Chen was really too despicable. This hint was too obvious, wasn't it? The key point was that after Xiao Chen muttered to himself, he even winked at Lady Xing. Then he picked up the doll on the ground, broke off its head and limbs, and casually threw it on the ground. He then muttered, "Tsk, so pitiful. It's broken into pieces. I can't even recognize its beautiful face. Young Master Xing, are you ready, please? Can I attack now?" Jia Muzin asked tentatively. In the end, Lady Xing didn't move at all. She didn't even reply. Instead, she stared at a certain place outside the stage with a face full of terror. Jia Muzin was a little puzzled. He also turned his head to take a look. He discovered that Xiao Chen was standing there, staring at the empty ground, and muttering to himself. He didn't know what he was talking about. Chapter 1052. In fact, Xiao Chun just made an illusion in front of Qixing. There was no humanoid puppet at all. He relied on his acting skills to intimidate her. It seemed that the effect was quite good. Qixing bit her lower lip and thought carefully for a while. If I really win the competition this time, I will definitely offend Xiao Chun. The consequences are absolutely unimaginable. This man is a madman. God knows what he will do next. At that time, let alone 20 pieces of spiritual jades, I might even be disfigured and die. Seeing Jia Muzin's puzzled expression, Miss Xing took a deep breath and unwillingly said, Jia Muzin, you've won this match. I admit defeat. After she spoke, she nodded towards Uncle Gui and repeated herself. Jia Muzin was slightly startled, but he naturally wouldn't ask for the reason. He just nodded politely and accepted the victory with a smile. He knew that it must be Xiao Chun's threat just now. Otherwise, how could Qixing, who was at the Demon King Great Perfection realm, admit defeat so easily? Hearing that young Master Xing actually admitted defeat, there was an uproar in the audience. The people from other sects suddenly exploded. They began to discuss and point. They didn't know what was going on with young Master Xing. Why did he suddenly admit defeat? Although they were discussing, there was a young man in the group who had an expression of understanding and rejoicing. He thought to himself that it was fortunate that he wasn't competing with Jia Muzin. Otherwise, he would definitely admit defeat. This person was Shi Yuchuan. In fact, he discovered that Xiao Chun was present a long time ago. Originally, he wanted to make connections everywhere, but he was forced to hide in the crowd. He didn't dare to be too ostentatious. He was afraid that after Xiao Chun saw him, he would find trouble with him. Jia Huiyin and Jia Tiao almost exploded with anger. When Jia Jinyan announced the rules of the competition, they knew that they could no longer get the position of heir. After all, the score gap was too big. However, seeing young Master Xing and Jia Muzin fighting, they were still overjoyed. They only hoped that young Master Xing would teach Jia Muzin a lesson. It would be best if he could beat him until he couldn't even take care of himself. No matter how much he thought about it, he would never have predicted that the other party would give up on the competition. But if they really wanted to find out the reason, they could only find out that Xiao Chun and young Master Xing had chatted for a while before the competition, and even held hands with each other. It seemed like they were really just exchanging pleasantries, and did not use force to threaten young Master Xing. Thus, they could not use this matter to nitpick, or else they would definitely be ridiculed by Jia Jinyan again. After little Miss Xing finished speaking, she angrily stomped her feet. Hearing the buzzing discussions below the stage, she no longer cared about her face. She quickly jumped off the stage and left the martial arts practice field. Finding a corner, she took out her phone and quickly dialed a number. She planned to report the matter of Xiao Chun to the sect. Little Xing, aren't you participating in the competition at the Jia clan? Why do you have the time to call me? After the call went through, Elder Son asked with a puzzled expression. Elder Son, it's like this. I found Xiao Chun in the Jia family. According to him, he should be here to help Jia Muzin seize the position of the successor to the Jia family head. Therefore, I immediately gave up the competition and wanted to report to you as soon as possible. Little Lady Xing quickly explained. What? Xiao Chun is in the Jia family? Elder Son was also a little surprised. He quickly asked, other than Jia Muzin, is there anyone else by his side? I'm not too sure about this. I only saw him just before the competition. For the time being, I didn't find any other companions. Little Lady Xing recalled and said, Oh, how about this? You stay in the Jia family and secretly monitor Xiao Chun's movements. I will immediately report this situation to the sect leader and let him make a decision. Elder Son made a prompt decision and instructed. Little Lady Xing was a little dumbfounded. But I will be leaving after the competition ends. I can't possibly stay in the Jia family for a long time, right? Otherwise, Xiao Chun will definitely suspect me. Moreover, the Jia family might not agree to it. Elder Son, do you think? Little girl Xing was extremely depressed. Elder Son only needed to say a few words. How could it be so easy to stay? She didn't have any excuse. Why should she stay in the Jia family's house and refuse to leave? Can't you think of something yourself? For example, stay and observe, or have dinner before leaving. You don't need me to remind you about such a small matter. I really don't know what else you can do. Elder son didn't wait for little Lady Xing to finish, and interrupted her impatiently. Alright, that's enough. I have to hurry and report to the sect leader. Wait for my news. Little Lady Xing was about to reply when she heard a click sound from the phone. Elder son had directly hung up the phone. Little Lady Xing shook her head helplessly and put away her phone. She turned around unwillingly and walked back. In her heart, she cursed Xiaochen a few hundred times. Damn Xiaochen. Stinky Xiaochen. Of all the times you could have appeared, why did you have to appear now? You caused me to be scolded again. What a jinx. My nemesis. Look, Xiaochen. That young Master Xing is back again. What happened to her just now? Why did she run away as if she was possessed? Did you do something good? At this moment, Jia Muzin had already returned to the stage and was standing together with Xiaochen. He just happened to see little Lady Xing pouting and walking into the martial arts practice field with a face full of unwillingness. It was as if she had suffered a great injustice. He couldn't help but ask curiously. Xiaochen turned his head and glanced at her. He curled his lips and said, "Oh, she is always so strange. I merely used a trick, and she was so scared that she peed her pants. You don't have to care about her." That's right. Who is the next match? When little Lady Xing was making a call outside the martial arts practice field, Xiaochen had already used his divine sense to eavesdrop on the entire conversation. He didn't think much of it, and didn't take it to heart. Right now, he only wanted to finish the match as soon as possible, and quickly find a place to obtain some spiritual jades to level up. After all, he had already been targeted by the Awakening Heaven sect. Furthermore, the dust on the Jia clan's side had basically settled. Jia Muzin would definitely be able to smoothly ascend to the position of clan leader, so he didn't have to worry too much. Next, it will be Jia Renzhong versus Shi Yuchuan. Both of you, please come on stage and prepare. Without waiting for Jia Muzin's reply, Uncle Gui had already announced loudly on the stage. Shi Yuchuan flipped over and jumped onto the stage. He cupped his hands towards the surrounding people and introduced himself with a humble face. Hello everyone. I am the third generation disciple of the Six Directions sect, Shi Yuchuan. Today, I am deeply honored to be able to be a guest of the Jia clan, one of the three major clans of the inner martial arts circle. I will definitely go all out in the next match. I wonder which of the Jia people's young masters will be my opponent. After talking for a while, Shi Yuchuan looked at the Jia clan disciples below the stage with a smile, and waited for Jia Renzhong to stand up. I am Jia Renzhong. Ouch. Jia Renzhong immediately stood up and raised his hand. However, he had only raised his hand halfway before he put it down. His face revealed a painful expression. He felt that his arm was incomparably painful. It was obvious that the injury he received in the morning had not healed. Chapter 1053. Holding his arm, Jia Renzhong took a few deep breaths and walked towards the arena while enduring the pain. Shi Yuchuan couldn't hide the joy on his face. He could tell at a glance that Jia Renzhong was injured. Moreover, the injury was quite serious. He reckoned that Jia Renzhong's battle prowess would be greatly reduced. It seemed that he could easily obtain 20 pieces of spiritual jades this time. This way, he would be able to explain to the sect when he returned. The sect would definitely consider him as having made a great contribution. However, Shi Yuchuan's happiness didn't last long. The expression on his face immediately froze. This was because he saw Xiaochen, who was standing at the side, move and walk towards Jia Renzhong. He couldn't help but secretly complain in his heart. Could it be that these two people knew each other? Renzhong, wait a moment. Xiaochen called out to Jia Renzhong, who was walking towards the arena. He lightly patted his shoulder and asked with concern, "How are your injuries? If you can't hold on, don't force yourself. It doesn't matter if you win or lose, but if you get new injuries before your old ones have healed, it will be troublesome." "Big brother Xiao, I'm fine. Thank you for your concern." Jia Renzhong was overwhelmed by the favor and quickly replied, "However, I must win this match. Otherwise, how can I be worthy of young Master Mu Sen's nurturing grace? Jia Renzhong was a little excited, although he didn't know why Xiao Chun was so worried about him, and even specially came up to ask about his well-being. Since he was Jia Musen's external helper, he should be kind to him. Perhaps it was young Master Mu Sen who sent him to greet him. Oh, since you insist, then I can only wish you good luck. Xiao Chen's eyes drifted and circled around Shi Yuchuan's body. Shaking his legs, he casually said, "However, as far as I know, your opponent is also weak. With your strength, you will definitely be able to beat him up. Do your best, Mu Sen, and I will protect you." Big brother Xiao, how do you know that he is weak? Jia Renzhong was confused and asked in puzzlement. If the opponent was really weak, then he might have been able to defeat him in the past. However, his injuries had not healed yet, and he could only use less than 30% of his strength. The probability of winning was much lower. Don't ask so many questions. In short, if he dares to hit you, I'll let him have a good workout later. Xiao Chun said the last sentence very loudly. Then he glared at Shi Yuchuan in a threatening manner, and made an expression that said, "You know what I mean." Ugh. Okay. Jia Renzhong didn't know what to answer, so he could only agree. He didn't expect that Xiao Chun would be so arrogant, daring to say such harsh words in public. However, Jia Renzhong didn't have time to think too much. He turned around and quickly walked up the ring, then saluted Shi Yuchuan. At this time, Shi Yuchuan's face was pale, and his back was cold and full of cold sweat. He thought he could win easily, but he didn't expect that Jia Renzhong was Xiao Chen's friend. Wasn't this too much of a coincidence? Just a moment ago, he was still rejoicing that he didn't have to face Jia Musen, and was able to escape from Xiao Chen's calamity. He didn't expect that he still couldn't escape. Moreover, Xiao Chen's words just now were clearly meant for him to hear. How could he fight now? If he really beat up Jia Renzhong for the sake of 20 pieces of spiritual jades, he might be forced to stay in the Jia family forever. Xiao Chun was a real lunatic, and he was capable of anything. During this period of time, he had heard many rumors. This guy even dared to kill Ma Lanxiao, and he had even killed several experts from the Yinyun sect. How could he offend such a person? Hello, big brother Shi. I am Jia Renzhong from the Jia family. Please show some mercy later. After saluting, Jia Renzhong said courteously, Shi Yuchuan's mind was in a mess. He didn't know what Jia Renzhong was talking about, so he nodded his head in response. Uncle Gui saw that both of them were standing firmly on the ring, and that they were ready. He immediately waved his hand and said in a deep voice, "Let the match begin. Big brother Shi, please take this." Jia Renzhong shouted loudly, and displayed the strength of a martial general level 9. He quickly rushed toward Shi Yuchuan, raised his hand and slapped his shoulder. Cough cough. Xiao Chun suddenly cleared his throat loudly below the ring. Wait a minute. To everyone's surprise, Shi Yuchuan didn't retaliate. Instead, he took a few steps back, and made a gesture to stop the match. Seeing this, Jia Renzhong hurriedly stopped his steps, and looked at Shi Yuchuan in shock. He asked doubtfully, "Big brother Shi? What's wrong?" The pale Shi Yuchuan's eyes turned, and he stretched out his hand to press on his stomach. With a pained expression, he cried out miserably, "My stomach hurts so much." Jia Renzhong blinked his eyes, a little puzzled. Why did this person suddenly have a stomachache? Wasn't he fine just now? Shi Yuchuan was in for a penny, in for a pound. He squatted on the ground, holding his stomach, and grumbled, "Ouch, it hurts so much, ouch. It must be because the seafood I ate at noon wasn't cooked. If I had known, I wouldn't have been so greedy." Actually, it wasn't a stomachache. Just now, when Uncle Gui announced the start of the match, and Xiao Chun cleared his throat, Shi Yuchuan realized that the match must not continue. Otherwise, Xiao Chun would definitely not let him go. Therefore, he immediately stopped the match, and then chose to pretend to have a stomachache as the reason. "Big brother Shi, are you okay? Do you want to rest for a while? When your stomach doesn't hurt anymore, we can continue the match." Seeing Shi Yuchuan's pale face and sweaty back, Jia Renzhong thought that he really had a stomachache, so he didn't doubt it. Instead, he asked with concern, No, I can't help it." Shi Yuchuan quickly waved his hand, His face was twisted, and he asked in pain, "May I ask where your bathroom is? I have to solve it quickly. This match, I give up." Just go out and turn right. Hurry up. You don't have to give up the match. I can wait for you to come back." Jia Renzhong pointed in the direction of the bathroom. Jia Renzhong felt that if Shi Yuchuan gave up the match, he would have an unfair advantage. Therefore, he insisted on waiting for him to come back and continue. "Thank you." Shi Yuchuan didn't have time to refuse again. He nodded casually, jumped off the arena, and ran out of the door. Then, he randomly chose a direction and left the Jia family as if he was escaping. "Hey, the bathroom is on the right. You went the wrong way." Jia Renzhong looked at Shi Yuchuan's back and shouted anxiously. He wanted to remind Shi Yuchuan, but he found that Shi Yuchuan still ran toward the gate of the Jia family, not knowing whether he didn't hear it or didn't want to care. "Old master, what do you think about this match?" Uncle Gui asked with a bitter face. Shi Yuchuan was obviously going to escape, but Jia Renzhong was so stupid that he didn't realize it. He thought he really wanted to go to the bathroom. Chapter 1054. Today's competition was really strange. There were those who pretended to be strong, and now there were those who abandoned the competition and ran away. He had never encountered such a problem before, so he didn't know what to do for a moment. Let the others compete first. If Shi Yuchuan doesn't return by the end of the competition, then it will be considered as Jia Renzhong's victory. Jia Jinyan was also very helpless, but for the sake of fairness, he could only do so. Uncle Gui nodded his head in understanding. Although he knew that Shi Yuchuan definitely wouldn't return, he still arranged for Jia Renzhong to wait below the stage and let the other contestants continue with the competition. As expected, even after all the competitions had ended, Shi Yuchuan was still nowhere to be seen. Jia Renzhong won without a fight and obtained 3 points. At the same time, it also represented the official end of the Jia clan's 3-day competition. After Uncle Gui announced Jia Renzhong's points, Jia Jinyan stood up and smiled at all the outsiders who came to participate in the competition. He cupped his fists and bowed to all the outsiders who came to participate. He said amiably, "All right, the external competition has ended. Once again, on behalf of the Jia clan, I would like to thank all the disciples from the various sects and clans for coming to the Jia clan to support us. Now please move to the guest hall. My trusted aide will be here to entertain everyone. According to my promise, spiritual jades will be distributed according to the results of the competition." After saying that, Jia Jinyan made a gesture of invitation and sent the guests of the external competition out of the martial arts hall. The guests who came to participate in the competition also knew that what happened next had nothing to do with them, so they walked to the guest hall in groups of 2s and 3s. Some of the friends who were already familiar with each other usually didn't see each other, often due to their busy training missions. It was a good opportunity to catch up. Some of the newcomers also wanted to take the opportunity to expand their network. After a while, all the guests in the martial arts hall had left, leaving only the disciples of the Jia clan. Lady Xing had a mission and didn't want to be too far away from Xiaochen. However, considering that it wasn't appropriate for her to stay here alone, she hesitated for a while and felt that Xiaochen wouldn't suddenly run out of the Jia clan at this time. Hence, she chose to leave the martial arts hall first. After all the guests had left, the disciples of the Jia clan consciously lined up in front of Jia Jinyan and waited for the clan leader's instructions. Jia Jinyan swept his gaze across the audience and said solemnly, "After a few days of competition, I believe everyone has a deeper understanding of their own abilities. Although there's definitely a difference between the competition and reality, and the person who gets first place might not be able to manage the entire family well. Since it's a legacy, there must be a result." At this point, Jia Jinyan paused slightly and glanced at the disciples of the Jia clan below the stage. He saw that at this moment, their expressions were all different. Some of them looked calm, some were dejected, some were resentful and unwilling, and so on and so forth. Jia Jinyan took a deep breath and said loudly, "Next, I will announce the winner of this competition." Everyone's expression immediately tensed up. Many people clenched their fists tightly and stared at Jia Jinyan. The atmosphere suddenly became a lot more tense. Only Xiao Chun leisurely sat on the side with his legs crossed, looking like he didn't care at all. Picking up the form on the table, Jia Jinyan said word by word. The champion of this year's clan's tournament is Jia Muzin, who obtained 16 patriarch points. According to the rules of the tournament, he will become the next successor of the clan leader. Jia Huiyan and Jia Tuyao are ranked second and third respectively. They will become the next successor of the clan leader. Turning a page, Jia Jinyan read again. In the competition of the collateral disciples, the champion is Jia Renzhong. He will also become the successor of the clan leader. As for the other collateral disciples, don't be discouraged. Continue to work hard. As long as you can perform well in the future, you will also have the opportunity to be promoted to the clan leader. Although they already knew the result, the moment they heard Jia Jinyan's announcement, Jia Huiyan and Jia Tuyao still found it hard to accept. They looked at each other and saw the unwillingness in each other's eyes. They had thought that two tigers could not share the same mountain. As long as they could defeat each other, they could smoothly become the successor of the clan leader. They didn't expect that Jia Muzin, who had been ostracized and forced to run away from home, would suddenly appear out of nowhere and ruin their original plan. Alright, everyone has worked hard for the past few days. I'm sure you are all tired. After announcing the name list, Jia Jinyan's tone softened slightly. Tonight, the clan has prepared a sumptuous banquet. Firstly, it is to celebrate the birth of the new clan leader. Secondly, it is to reward everyone. I hope that when the time comes, the disciples of the clan and their external helpers can arrive on time and participate in the banquet. After finishing his announcement, seeing that no one raised any objections, Jia Jinyan packed up his things and prepared to leave the martial arts hall with his trusted aides. Clan leader, please wait. Jia Jinyan had not gone far when he heard a familiar voice behind him. Jia Jinyan turned his head and saw that it was Xiao Chun walking over. He stopped in his tracks. Xiao Chun walked up to Jia Jinyan, bowed to him, and asked with a smile, I have a question to ask clan leader. Since Jia Muzin has won, when can he officially become the clan leader of the Jia clan? Xiao Chun, you have quite the guts. This is our Jia clan's matter. Since when is it up to an outsider like you to intervene? Jia Huiyan was already extremely depressed that he had not become the clan leader's successor. When he heard Xiao Chun's words, he was immediately provoked. Without waiting for Jia Jinyan to speak, Jia Huiyan roared angrily. Jia Tuyao, who was standing at the side, also had a displeased expression. He sneered in a lukewarm tone. That's right. You have to understand your own identity. You are just an external helper. Do you really think that you are not an outsider? Sai, why is it that every time I want to ask clan leader some questions, you two losers always like to jump out and interrupt? Have you lost your minds after losing the match? Or do you really want to show your existence? Xiao Chun retorted impatiently. He did not ask this question for no reason. After all of Xiao Chun's plans in the future were based on Jia Muzin becoming the clan leader. However, Jia Jinyan had only announced that Jia Muzin would become the next clan leader. He had not clearly stated when he would take over. That was why Xiao Chun was a little anxious. After all, his father was still in an abyss of suffering. If he could not find out his father's whereabouts as soon as possible, he was afraid that a long delay would bring trouble. Forget it, Xiao Chun. Grandfather will naturally make arrangements. He must have his reasons for not letting me directly become the clan leader. Don't be too impulsive. Jia Muzin pulled on Xiao Chun's sleeve and comforted him softly. Although he could understand Xiao Chun's eagerness to save his father, his grandfather still had the final say in the entire Jia clan. Chapter 1055. If he angered him, not only would Xiao Chun suffer, but he might also lose the inheritance right that he had just obtained. That would not be worth it. Xiao Chun was slightly startled. Only then did he realize that he was a bit too impatient. After all, Jia Muzin was not the patriarch yet. If he was too impulsive, it was very likely that he would make a fool of himself. I don't know why you, as an external aide, would ask this question. Although Jia Jinyan was a bit annoyed, he thought that it might be because he did not explain clearly. So he suppressed the anger in his heart and said indifferently, I will take it that you are concerned about Jia Muzin, so I can tell you. Glancing at Jia Muzin, Jia Jinyan explained indifferently, this time's family competition is a test of individual ability. However, Jia Muzin still needs a period of time to learn the daily affairs of the patriarch. Only when I feel that he is qualified will he officially inherit the position of patriarch. Are you satisfied with this explanation? Oh, so that's how it is. I thought that Jia Muzin only won a title and did not have any practical use. Xiaochen nodded. He felt that he was indeed a bit rude, so he cupped his hands at Jia Jinyan and said apologetically, Patriarch, I apologize for my attitude just now. I hope you don't take it to heart. Forget it, it doesn't matter. Do you have any other questions? If not, then I will leave first. Jia Jinyan smiled slightly and waved his hand. It seemed that he did not have any intention of blaming him. However, he still secretly kept an eye on him. After all, Xiaochen's behavior was indeed a bit strange. Looking at Jia Jinyan's back as he left, Jia Muzin could not help but break out in a cold sweat. He frowned and said softly, Xiaochen, I also know that you want to find your father as soon as possible, but you still have to think twice. If you really offend grandfather, I reckon that both of us will not be able to bear the consequences. At that time, all our previous efforts will be wasted. And I know. Xiaochen nodded. I am a bit unhappy with your grandfather's way of doing things. However, you can rest assured that I will restrain myself in the future and will not do anything out of line. Although he said so, Xiaochen still slightly sighed. It seemed that helping Jia Muzin become the patriarch was only the beginning. There was still a long way to go. Then let's go back first. Cheng Minjing and the others are still waiting for our good news. Jia Muzin patted Xiaochen's shoulder in understanding and consoled him softly. Don't worry too much. Your father will be fine. Once I get access to the core secrets, I'll definitely help you find out his whereabouts first. Xiaochen helplessly smiled. Although he was still worried about his father's safety, he also knew that he could only take one step at a time. Therefore, he put down his worries and left the martial hall with Jia Muzin. Tu Yao, you're the one with the most cunning ideas. Can you think of a way to kill Xiaochen and Jia Muzin without anyone noticing? Jia Huiyan said viciously, as he looked at the backs of the two leaving. Watching Jia Muzin, who used to be under his feet, climb to his head step by step, Jia Huiyan could imagine how he felt. He had been suffering for too long, and he didn't want to endure it anymore. That's not possible, is it? Jia Tuyao hesitated, pondered for a moment and said, Xiaochen, that kid is very powerful. Even Tang Yuansheng and Bai Songyan were defeated by him. How can the two of us defeat him? Jia Tuyao was a cautious person. He would never make a move before he was sure that he could win. Therefore, Jia Huiyan usually acted in the front, and he preferred to hide behind the scenes and plot. Jia Huiyan curled his lips disdainfully and sneered. He is only at the peak of level 2 demon venerable. He is not that powerful. Even if he can defeat Tang Yuansheng, it will be a narrow victory. As long as we find some powerful warriors, we can definitely kill him easily. But we haven't even found out his background. What if he has some powerful backers? What if someone comes to seek revenge after we kill him? If that happens, both sides will suffer, and even the Jia family will be killed. Jia Tuyao shook his head disapprovingly. Pa, he is just a cultivator from the mortal world. What backers can he have? Aren't you being too cautious? Jia Huiyan sneered. Silently he thought, you are not cautious, you are just a coward. Jia Tuyao showed the whites of his eyes and said, since you are so confident, why don't you do it yourself? Why do you need my help? But I advise you to be careful. Don't play with fire and burn yourself. If my grandpa finds out that you sent people to kill Xiaochen and Jia Muzin, you will be kicked out of the family. I am not interested in taking this risk with you, bye-bye. Jia Tuyao curled up the corners of his mouth and swaggered out of the martial arts hall with his two subordinates. He believed that even if he wanted to kill Xiaochen, he would have to use his wits. Fighting and killing were not his style. Damn it! Why are you pretending? When I get rid of them, and become the head of the Jia family. You will be the first one I will deal with. Jia Huiyan stared at Jia Tiao's back and murmured to himself. At this moment, Xiao Chun and Jiao Muzin had already walked far away, so they didn't know what had happened behind them. However, on the way back, Xiao Chun faintly felt that someone was secretly watching him. Xiao Chun's expression didn't change. He kept talking and laughing with Jiao Muzin, but secretly, he released his spirit power and searched around. Although he was injured in the competition in the morning and hadn't fully recovered, it was a piece of cake for Xiao Chun to find a stalker. Soon he found the stalker. Child ladyboy, what are you doing sneakily hiding in the bushes? Come out now, don't wait for me to find you. Xiao Chun yelled at the bushes not far away, with a confident look. He had guessed that it might be the girl Xing who was following him. However, he didn't expect that this girl was so clumsy that she would hide in the bushes and easily expose her whereabouts. The bushes shook slightly, and then there was no more movement. You don't want to come out, do you? Xiao Chun directly walked in that direction and said, I will count to 3. If you don't come out by then, I don't mind letting you have a taste of flying ladyboy. 1, 2. Just as he counted to 2, a rustling sound came from the bushes, and a person suddenly stood up, startling Jiao Muzin. How did you find out? I feel that I hit it pretty well. Little Miss Xing stood in the bushes in a daze as she looked at Xiao Chun, who was staring at her, and asked in confusion. Are you going to stand in the bushes and talk to me? Don't you feel uncomfortable being poked? Xiao Chun lowered his chin and pointed at the bushes as he asked with a smile that was not a smile. Miss Xing hesitated for a while, but still walked out. There were still a few leaves stuck to her hair, making her look silly and adorable. She grabbed Xiao Chun and asked anxiously, Tell me quickly, how did you know I was here? Chapter 1056. I say, can't you grow some brains? Xiao Chun glared at her in annoyance and said, The entire patch of grass is green. You're wearing white and hiding inside like a ghost. As long as you're not colorblind, it's very easy to see through you, alright? Xiao Chun spouted nonsense, as if it was a matter of course. Since little Chick Xing didn't know that he was a cultivator, no matter how he tried to explain it, it would be enough. Little Chick Xing looked down at her clothes, and then back at the grass. It seemed like it was really the case. She was instantly speechless. She didn't doubt Xiao Chun's words at all. She didn't even notice that the sky had darkened. There was no way she could tell if there were any other colors in the grass. All she felt was a huge sense of defeat. She stood there dumbly, not knowing what to say. By the way, what's the meaning of that green leaf on your head? Xiao Chun pointed at little Chick Xing's head and thought for a while with his chin in his hand. With a face of realization, he said, Oh, I understand. It must be because Ling Qianxue was stolen by me. So you want to put some green on your head in order to gain sympathy from others, right? You don't say, it's quite appropriate. You. Little Chick Xing's expression changed. She anxiously stomped her feet and didn't have time to explain. She quickly removed the leaves from her head and glared angrily at Xiao Chun. Her cheeks were puffed up with anger. What about you? Do you know how to speak properly? Xiao Chun glanced at little Chick Xing. He suddenly felt that this girl was quite cute when she was angry. If she could change back into female clothes, her appearance wouldn't lose to miss. Nothing. Important things must be repeated 3 times. Little Chick Xing said through gritted teeth. Pfft. Xiao Chun almost burst out laughing. What kind of F***king logic was this? He simply waved his hand and directly asked, All right, let's not talk about these useless things. Why are you looking for me? Don't tell me you're here to put on a show for me? I'm here to. Little girl Xing was a little flustered, her little eyes darting around. She never expected that she would be exposed, so she couldn't think of an excuse. Xiao Chun wasn't in a hurry. He was calm and unruffled as he looked at Miss Xing. From time to time, he would chat with Jiao Muzin. He looked very carefree. Miss Xing thought for a long time, but still couldn't think of a suitable reason. She didn't dare to look at Xiao Chun's face, so she lowered her head more and more. Her gaze inadvertently fell on a small package tied to her waist. Inside the bag was the reward he had just received, 10 pieces of spiritual jade. All right, I'm here to ask for your spiritual jades. Hurry up and compensate me with the remaining 10 pieces of spiritual jades. Xingniu suddenly thought of an excellent excuse. She immediately stretched out her hand and placed it in front of Xiao Chun as she spoke in a righteous manner. You're right. What the hell? Ridiculous. Xiao Chun pushed away little Lady Xing's hand and glared at her. How did I owe you spiritual jades? Speak clearly. Don't think that just because you're a transvestite, I won't dare to beat you up. Of course you owe me. Little Lady Xing angrily protested. Originally, with my strength, I could have won the external competition in the afternoon. That way, I would have gotten 20 pieces of spiritual jades. But you played tricks on me, causing me to only get half of it. Therefore, you must compensate me with the remaining 10 pieces of spiritual jades. After she finished speaking, little Lady Xing specially took out the bag of spiritual jades and waved it in front of Xiao Chun to increase the credibility of her words. Deepwell Ice, you're too lacking in manners. You admitted defeat on your own, yet you're blaming me? Xiao Chun looked at the spiritual jades in the bag in front of him. Suddenly, his heart skipped a beat, and he reached out to snatch it. Ah, what are you doing? Little Lady Xing was shocked and reached out to take it. However, Xiao Chun retracted his hand and turned to leave. As he walked, he said slowly, I'm going to take these spiritual jades for myself. You won't be able to use them anyway, so don't waste them. I'll return them to you after some time. Xiao Chun was planning to obtain some spiritual jades to break through to the next cultivation level. Although 10 pieces were far from enough, it was still better than nothing. No matter how small a mosquito was, it was still meat, right? You're too unreasonable. Who said that I can't use them? Hurry up and return the spiritual jades to me. Little Lady Xing was furious. She immediately rushed towards Xiao Chun and tried to snatch the bag back. She had originally planned to save the spiritual jades and wait until she had 100 pieces. Then, she could enter the honored realm and increase her cultivation level. In the end, she did not expect that it would be snatched away by Xiao Chun. Since it's already in my hands, it's mine now. If you have the ability, come and take it. Xiao Chun saw that little Lady Xing was blocking his way, so he deliberately raised his right hand and chuckled. He was already very tall to begin with, and with the length of his arms, he was almost 2 meters tall. Normal girls wouldn't be able to reach him at all. Even if Miss Xing was taller than normal girls, she was still far behind Xiao Chun. As expected, little Lady Xing stood on her tiptoes and tried a few times. However, she discovered that no matter how she stretched out her hand, she could not touch the bag in Xiao Chun's hands. Instead, she received a mocking look from Xiao Chun. Instantly, she became angry and anxious. She didn't care about her dignity anymore. She directly flew towards Xiao Chun's body and pulled his right hand down with all her might. Damn it, isn't it just 10 spiritual jades? Is there a need to be so desperate? Xiao Chun really did not expect little Lady Xing to make such a move. Caught off guard, he was pushed backwards by her. Luckily, he managed to take a step in time to stabilize himself. Otherwise, he would have fallen flat on his back. However, Xiao Chun's right hand was still firmly held in the air. Although the bag containing the spiritual jades was shaking violently, it was not snatched away. Jia Muzhen, who was standing at the side, was also stunned. He did not expect little Lady Xing to be so bold. For such a small amount of spiritual jades, she dared to throw herself at Xiao Chun. Wasn't she too fierce? She was practically like a child. Stupid Xiao Chun. Smelly Xiao Chun. You scoundrel, return the spiritual jades to me. Woo-woo. Little Lady Xing's eyes turned red as she cried out loud. She subconsciously clenched her fists and used all her strength to hit Xiao Chun's body. She said with an aggrieved voice, These 10 spiritual jades are very important to me. You can't take them away. Otherwise, I won't be able to go to the honorable realm. Woo woo woo. Hiss. Let's talk things out. Why are you crying for no reason? Xiao Chun was a little stunned as he looked at little Lady Xing, who had lost control of herself. Her body softly leaned against his body. Although the feeling was quite comfortable, Xiao Chun really could not stand a woman clinging to him and crying. After all, He did not have any deep grudges with little Lady Xing. Thus, when he saw her crying like a pear blossom, his heart inevitably softened. Most importantly, Xiao Chen had just been injured in the morning. Little Lady Xing had pounced on him and hit him a few times. His wound was already a little painful. However, looking at the current situation, he could only endure it for now. Chapter 1057. Sob, sob, sob. I don't care, I want to cry. If you don't return the spiritual jades to me, then I will perish together with you. Xing shook her head with all her might and hammered a few more times. She realized that Xiao Chen had no intention of letting go, and could only hold on to his right hand with all her might. She cried and yelled at him. Oh, all right, I will return it to you, all right? Hurry up and get down first. What is this? If someone sees this, they will misunderstand. Those who don't know might think that I like men. Xiao Chen sighed helplessly. Fortunately, after so many days of competition, everyone was exhausted and had gone back to rest. At this time, there was no one else passing by. Otherwise, if they saw this scene, they might really think that he was a pervert. No, give me the spiritual jades first, otherwise I will not go down. Xing Niu tugged at Xiao Chen's clothes unrelentingly. Xiao Chen was angry and amused at the same time. He shook his head and handed the pouch to Xing Niu. Here. Isn't it just 10 spiritual jades? This young master doesn't care about these things of yours. Hurry up and take them back. Xing Niu hurriedly grabbed the pouch tightly before jumping down from Xiao Chen's body. She opened the pouch and checked it a few times. After confirming that the spiritual jades were all there, and that they hadn't been secretly exchanged, she finally relaxed and pouted. Humph. Now that you have climbed up the big tree, that is the Jia family, of course you don't care about these spiritual jades. However, to me, these are priceless treasures. Ladyboy, cough, young Master Xing, I would like to ask you a question. Jia Muzin saw that Xing Niu had finally calmed down and couldn't help but ask in bewilderment. Your Awakening Heavens sect is the leader of the demonic sects in the martial arts world. Furthermore, with your cultivation, if you want to go to the honorable realm to cultivate, the sect should be more than happy. Don't tell me that the sect leader won't provide spiritual jades to you? He was indeed very surprised. From what Xing Niu had said, it seemed that if she wanted to go to the honorable realm, she would have to prepare spiritual jades herself. What do you know? Xing Niu tied the pouch again and put it back on her waist. However, after some thought, she took it off and stuffed it back into her clothes. She said with a sullen face, in the Awakening Heavens sect, only the direct descendants have the right to enjoy the sect's resources. Everyone else has to provide the sect with their own value in exchange for spiritual jades or cultivation resources. We are a sect that emphasizes the survival of the fittest. Unlike a large clan like the Jia family, you can send whoever you want to go. TSK, looks like you're having a hard time too. Xiao Chen smacked his lips and teased. Why don't you stop staying in Awakening Heaven Gate and come over to be my assistant? ISIIIT. T. When the time comes, you can have as many spirit jades as you want. Xiao Chen felt that although this Xing chick was a little silly, her strength was still considered outstanding. If he could rope her in, she might be of great help in the future. Don't even think about it. I won't help a rascal like you. Little girl Xing wrinkled her nose at Xiao Chen and pouted. You always bully me. Just now, you purposely scared me, and even stole my spiritual jades. Who knows if you will do something even more outrageous in the future. Besides, Awakening Heaven sect has done me a great favor. I will absolutely not betray sect master. It's up to you whether you want to come or not. I'm just asking casually. I don't want to bring a crybaby like you who only knows how to cry when encountering something trivial. Otherwise, I'll be killed by your noise sooner or later. Xiao Chen shrugged and looked indifferent. In any case, it was just a sudden thought just now. He didn't expect that Chick Xing would listen to him obediently, so he didn't really care. Isn't it all because of you? Little Miss Xing recalled what had just happened, and hurriedly wiped away the tears on her face. She pointed her finger at Xiao Chen, and was so angry that she couldn't speak. Don't talk about me. Since I'm still in a good mood, Hurry up and go back to where you came from. Seeing a transvestite like you makes me feel annoyed. Xiao Chen couldn't be bothered to talk to her anymore, and waved his hand to dismiss her. Smelly Xiao Chen, what's so great about you? Wait until I enter the honorable realm, and become an honorable. I'll come back to teach you a lesson. Just you wait. Little girl Xing snorted angrily. She was afraid that Xiao Chen would change his mind, and come to steal her spiritual jades again. Her figure flashed, and she ran towards the nearby forest. After little Miss Xing left, Xiao Chen's breathing became chaotic. He couldn't hold it in any longer, and coughed a few times while clutching his chest. He then spat out a mouthful of blood, and his face became deathly pale. It was obvious that the injuries from the morning had acted up again. Xiao Chen, what's wrong? Jia Muzin wanted to tease Xiao Chen a bit more, but when he turned around and saw the scene in front of him, he jumped in fright. He immediately took out a porcelain bottle from his robes and poured out a colorful healing pill. He then handed it to Xiao Chen. Come eat this pill. This is a life-saving pill my grandfather gave me. It will definitely help your injuries. It's alright, don't waste the pill. Xiao Chen did not take Jia Muzin's pill. Instead, he waved his hand and said, I've not fully recovered from the injuries I received this morning. That transvestite girl just hammered me a few times, so my internal organs were shaken. Let me recover first and then go back to rest. After speaking, Xiao Chen closed his eyes and rested for a while. His face finally regained some color. When he opened his eyes, he couldn't help but rejoice in his heart. Luckily, little Miss Xing was only fighting over the spiritual jades and didn't want to fight with him. Otherwise, based on his current condition, he might not even be able to defeat her. It's good that you're fine. You almost scared me to death just now. Let's go back quickly in case that transvestite comes looking for trouble again. Jia Muzin heaved a sigh of relief and frowned. He looked around vigilantly before supporting Xiao Chen and walking towards his courtyard. However, what the two of them did not expect was that little Miss Xing did not go far. After she ran into the nearby forest, she hid and secretly observed Xiao Chen. Because Xiao Chen's injuries had relapsed, he had already retracted his divine sense. Therefore, he did not notice this situation. When little Miss Xing saw Xiao Chen vomit blood, her expression froze. She lowered her head and pondered for a while before carefully following after him. After returning to his room, Xiao Chen rested for an hour. Although he had suppressed his surging qi and blood, and did not feel as uncomfortable as before, the stagnant injuries in his body still did not improve. Xiao Chen sighed deeply. He thought that the most important thing right now was to quickly find enough spiritual jades to increase his cultivation level. If he could increase his cultivation level, his injuries would naturally heal without medicine. After thinking about it, Xiao Chen felt that if he wanted to obtain spiritual jades, the most direct way was to go to the heavenly jade mine. Only there, he could absorb spiritual jades at the fastest speed, and in the largest amount to increase his cultivation level. Chapter 1058. However, Xiao Chen felt that this matter had to be hidden from Jia Muzin and Jia Hongyong for the time being. It was not that he did not trust them, but he did not want to expose his identity as a cultivator for the time being. In any case, absorbing spiritual jades for his own advancement would definitely harm the interests of the Jia family. If the family had found out, he would definitely be held responsible. If Jia Muzin and Jia Hongyong did not know his true purpose, then even if the situation of his cultivation was exposed, they would not be implicated. After making up his mind, Xiao Chen got up and walked out of his room. Seeing that Jia Muzin and the girls happened to be chatting in the courtyard, Xiao Chen strode over and said, Muzin, since the competition is over, I plan to find time to go to Tianyu Mine again. Jia Muzin was stunned and asked doubtfully, Why are you going to Tianyu Mine again? I want to investigate the information about my father in detail. I left in a hurry the last time, so I didn't read it carefully. I want to take a look again and see if I can find any clues. Xiao Chen found a very suitable reason. Tian Souring pulled on Xiao Chen's sleeve and said with a face full of worry, Husband Xiao Chen, you are so seriously injured now. Why are you still running around? Why don't you stay with the Jia family to recover first? Anyway, the information is in the computer. It will not grow legs and run away. Yes, Xiaochen. Now that your strength has not fully recovered, you may not even be able to control the flying sword smoothly. Moreover, the periphery of Tianyu Mine is full of dangers. We all know that. If you go now, what if you encounter the demonic spiders from last time? Cheng Menjing was also a little worried. She thought for a moment and said, "How about this, we go with you? If there is danger, we can take care of each other." Ling and Ling Qinxue also nodded in agreement. They both felt that they could not let Xiao Chen take risks alone. Although their strength was not high, as the saying goes, there is strength in numbers. If it came to a critical moment, they could also contribute some strength, right? Souring and the others are right. If you go now, it is indeed a little dangerous. Jia Muzin smiled and said, "But don't worry, I have a good idea. You don't need to go there personally, and you can look up the information. I happen to have a laptop in my room. I'll call Jia Hongyong later and ask him to send me all the information in the mine." After that, Jia Muzin immediately took out his phone and was about to dial Jia Hongyong's number, but he was stopped by Xiao Chen. "Wait." Xiao Chen held down Jia Muzin's hand that was about to dial and said awkwardly, "You don't have to call him. I want to go to the mine. There's something else I need to do." What kind of things can only be done in the mine? Jia Muzin was startled and asked in astonishment. Xiao Chen hesitated for a while and finally made up his mind. He said frankly, "Actually, I want to go to the Heavenly Jade Mine and use the spiritual jades to heal my injuries. At the same time, I can also use them to cultivate." "So that's how it is. You should have told me earlier. With our relationship, what's the point of hiding it? You're treating me like an outsider." Jia Muzin understood and looked at Xiao Chen with blame. Xiao Chen scratched his head and explained with a smile. "In any case, this is an act of using public office for private gain. You've just become the heir of the family. I'm afraid that I'll cause you some unnecessary trouble, so I didn't tell you the truth at the beginning." Jia Muzin shook his head and said sincerely, "Big brother Xiao, let's not beat around the bush. I basically relied on you to become the heir of the family. If there's such a day, and I have to choose between the glory of the family or the friendship of my brothers, then I'll definitely choose you, my good brother." "Thank you." Xiao Chen was also a little touched. He didn't know what to say for a while, so he could only pat Jia Muzin's shoulder heavily. This kind of heartfelt words should only be said once between brothers. Jia Muzin knew that Xiao Chen had already understood what he meant, so he changed the topic and said, "But since you're going, I have to tell Jia Hongyong in advance, so that he can send someone to pick you up and arrange a place for you to recuperate." "Oh, that's good too. I'll set off after the banquet. It's not easy to attract attention in the dead of night." Xiao Chen nodded and agreed. Jia Muzin walked to the side to make a phone call. Xiao Chen turned to Cheng Minjing and said, "Young miss, it's been hard on you. These few days, you and Sour will stay with the Jia family. I'll be at the mine. With Jia Hongyong looking after me, there won't be any problems. I'll come back after a few days when my body recovers." "Alright, then be careful. Don't be too impulsive," Cheng Minjing said. She heard that Xiao Chen had dared to talk back to Jia Jinyan. Although the old family head was magnanimous and didn't take it to heart, it still made her break out in a cold sweat. In the past, Cheng Minjing always had the temperament of a spoiled young miss and didn't have a good attitude towards Xiao Chen. Since the sudden big change, and after a period of escape with Xiao Chen, her character gradually became more stable and tolerant. However, from time to time, she would still quarrel with Xiao Chen. Ever since he set foot on the road to the inner Wulin, all kinds of sudden incidents occurred. Sometimes, when Xiao Chen couldn't take care of everything, he would ask Cheng Minjing to take care of the other girls. Cheng Minjing believed that she was Xiao Chen's real girlfriend. Therefore, every time she agreed, she got along well with Sour, Ling Qinxue and Ling Er. Her care and concern for Xiao Chen also quietly increased. It had been a long time since she threw a spoiled temper. "Sigh, the Jia family is so boring. It's not fun at all. Jia Muzin, that four-eyed guy, is also boring. Now, Xiao Chen's husband is going to be away for a few days. It seems like Sister Sour's days are going to be tough. Tian Sour sighed helplessly. She gazed into the distance with a face full of melancholy. The inner Wuling was really too boring. She was starting to miss the rich and colorful life in the secular world. Sour, it's not right for you to say that. It sounds like Ling, and Qinxue are ganging up to bully you. Cheng Minjing rolled her eyes mischievously and poked Tian Sour's nose in annoyance. That's right. We usually treat you so well. I didn't expect you to say such heartless words. It's too sad. It seems like I have to teach you a good lesson this time. Ling rolled up her sleeves, revealing her white and smooth arms. She gave Ling Qinxue and Cheng Minjing a look and said with a smirk, Qinxue Minjing, let's go together and give Sour a taste of some pain. Okay. I've wanted to teach her a lesson for a long time. Cheng Minjing was exactly what she wanted. She agreed immediately and pounced forward. Her left hand grabbed Tian Sour's wrist, and her right hand huffed and scratched Tian Sour's small waist. Chapter 1059. Ha ha ha. Sister Minjing, stop teasing me. I know I was wrong. Ayo ha ha. Tian Souring was ambushed, and laughed until she was out of breath. She wanted to break free from Cheng Minjing's claws, but she was not as strong as Cheng Minjing. She could only laugh while begging for mercy. Ling Er also joined the battle at this time, and went straight to Tian Souring's armpit. She laughed and gasped, and tears were about to come out. Ayo! Help Qinxue, help me. Tian Souring couldn't break free no matter how hard she tried. She could only ask for help from Ling Qinxue, who was usually the most obedient. Seeing that Ling Qinxue didn't bully her for a long time, she quickly shouted for help. Cheng Minjing also turned her head to see why Ling Qinxue didn't join in. As a result, she found that this little girl had plucked a dog's tail grass from some corner of the garden, and then went straight to Tian Souring. She took off her shoes and socks, and kept stroking the dog's tail grass on the soles of her feet. Ah! Help! It's so itchy! Ha ha ha! Tian Souring really collapsed this time. She didn't know whether to laugh or cry as she protested. Qinxue. Ha ha ha, you are too two-faced. Ayo. Looking at the scene of the girls playing together, Xiaochen couldn't help but feel a strong sense of happiness in his heart. If it wasn't for the fact that he had to find his father's whereabouts, he couldn't wait to live such a leisurely life for the rest of his life. Xiaochen, I have already asked Jia Hongyong to arrange the mine. You can go to the entrance of the mine, where our first match will be held tonight. He will be waiting to pick you up there. Jia Muzin put down his phone and walked over from the side. Okay. Xiaochen nodded and said, if there is any situation, I will contact you again. Jia Muzin agreed. He looked up and saw that the sky was already dark, so he said, it's almost time. Shouldn't we go to the banquet together? Go early and finish early. You still have to hurry tonight. Let's go. Xiaochen turned his head and called out to the girls who were still playing. Ladies, stop playing. Hurry up and clean up. We are going to eat a feast. Today we are the victors. Don't let others laugh at us. Cheng Minjing was the first to stop when she heard this. Ling Qinxue and Ling also supported Tian Souring and stopped playing. The three girls helped Souring tidy up his clothes and changed into a set of beautiful clothes before following Xiaochen and Jia Muzin to the guest hall. There was nothing special about the Jia clan's banquet. It was nothing more than a speech by the Jia clan's patriarch, Jia Jinyan, to congratulate Jia Muzin for winning the championship. Then, he said a few words of encouragement to the other disciples. He also thanked the disciples of the other sects who had come to participate in the competition. He knew that after a day of physical exertion, everyone was basically starving. Without saying much, he announced the official start of the banquet. Everyone buried their heads and ate bitterly for a while before the atmosphere gradually relaxed. The disciples of the Jia clan chatted with the foreign aide and today's guests. They joked with each other from time to time. The atmosphere was very harmonious. After 3 rounds of wine and 5 dishes, many middle-level members of the Jia clan knew that Jia Muzin had won the championship. They took the initiative to come over and toast to him. Even people from other sects came over to curry favor with him. Everyone knew that although Jia Muzin was only an heir now, it was only a matter of time before he became the patriarch. They might as well strike while the iron was hot, and build a good relationship with him first. He would definitely be useful in the future. Jia Muzin's alcohol tolerance was relatively low. However, when others came to toast him, it was not appropriate for him to decline. He could only chat with them, crack some jokes, drink a few cups with them, and send them away. Moreover, he was very clear that after he officially took office, there would definitely be more such social engagements. He couldn't avoid them even if he wanted to. It was better to practice now. Meanwhile, Xiao Chun, who was sitting beside Jia Muzin, was chatting with a few girls. Those girls seemed to be reluctant to let him leave. They pulled Xiao Chun and whispered their heartfelt feelings. From time to time, they would tease him and flirt with him. Even the young mistress, who was usually rather reserved, relaxed her nerves after drinking a few glasses of wine. She started to flirt with Xiao Chun, openly showing off their affection. Just as Xiao Chun's table was bustling with noise and joy, there were two people not far away who were staring at him. One of them was Miss Xing, who was sitting in the guest area. She looked at Xiao Chun with a complicated expression. Although there was no change in her expression, there was a hint of solemnity. The other person was the ashen-faced Jia Huiyan. He was currently glaring fiercely at Xiao Chun and Tian Sotsong. Every time the two of them unknowingly displayed their affection, he would gloomily gulp down a few glasses of wine. However, Xiao Chun and Tian Souring seemed to be unaware of it. The more Jia Huiyan looked, the angrier he got. He wanted nothing more than to rush over and slap him to death. Huiyan, don't drink so much. Upon seeing this, Jia Yubian sighed. He patted Jia Huiyan's shoulder and consoled him. I know that you are feeling very unhappy about losing in this large competition and not being able to become the successor. However, as you can see now, Jia Muzin and Xiao Chun are in the limelight. Why do you need to provoke them at this time when the wind and the waves are the fiercest? People will definitely gossip. Father, I understand what you mean. However, I just can't take this lying down. Jia Muzin clenched his fists tightly and said unwillingly, Jia Muzin is a bastard. He has no parents and is a coward. Why should he be the family head? How much has he contributed to the Jia family compared to me? Jia Huiyan raised his head and gulped down another cup of wine. His bloodshot eyes stared fixedly at Xiao Chun. Suppressing his anger, he said, and that brat surnamed Xiao, he actually dared to flirt with my fiancé in public. He clearly doesn't take me seriously. I must King kill him. Otherwise, I won't be able to dispel the anger in my heart. Isn't it easy to kill Xiao Chun? We just need to find an opportunity to get rid of him. Jia Yubian's expression was gloomy. His gaze constantly wandered between Xiao Chun and Jia Muzin. He said sinisterly, however, we can't touch Jia Muzin for now. That brat is now a big shot in the Jia family. Furthermore, he is highly regarded by your grandfather. If we act ruthlessly against him now, it will be too conspicuous. We can only act from another angle. Although Jia Yubian was also very dissatisfied with Jia Muzin and his group, he was still a generation older and had much more experience in life. Therefore, he wasn't as impulsive as Jia Huiyan and knew how to judge the situation. Father, could it be you already have a plan? Jia Huiyan was stunned when he heard this. Although he was drunk, his mind was still quite agile. He could hear the hidden meaning in Jia Yubian's words and couldn't wait to ask. It can't be considered a plan. It's just a preliminary idea. Jia Yubian withdrew his gaze from Jia Muzin and said indifferently, however, we definitely can't implement it now. We still have to see how Jia Muzin performs in the future. Unless it's absolutely necessary. I also don't want to shed all pretense of cordiality. In short, let's just wait and see. Chapter 1060. Jia Yubian picked up a cup of wine on the table and drank it in one gulp. A sinister look flashed through his eyes. However, it was blocked by the wine cup, so no one noticed. When he put down the wine cup again, there was no trace of it. Okay, I will listen to you. Jia Huiyan immediately nodded his head, and a glimmer of hope ignited in his heart. Since his father had spoken, and was willing to help, then the position of patriarch would fall into his hands sooner or later. With this thought, he was not so angry anymore. He looked at Jia Muzhen and the others, as if he was pitying people who were about to die. Jia Yubian and Jia Huiyan chatted a bit more. Seeing that Jia Huiyan had calmed down, Jia Yubian picked up his wine cup and led him to Jia Muzhen's table. After all, the other members of the Jia clan had all gone over to toast Jia Muzhen. Even Jia Yudo had a smile on his face as he drank a cup of wine with Jia Muzhen. Jia Yudo felt that as an elder, no matter how unwilling he was, he still had to put on an act. After the banquet ended smoothly, Xiao Chun returned to his room and packed his luggage. He found the girls and said goodbye to them one by one. He also said a few words to Jia Muzhen before sneaking out of the back door of the Jia clan. Xiao Chun originally wanted to use the flying sword as a means of transportation. However, after trying a few times, he discovered that he was unable to stabilize the sword due to his injuries. He could only helplessly give up on this idea and run to the heavenly jade mine. If he accidentally fell off the flying sword, it would be too much of a loss. However, before running far, Xiao Chun felt that someone was sneakily following him from behind. Even without turning around to confirm, Xiao Chun knew that the person following him was without a doubt little Chick Xing. Right now, only she would care about his whereabouts and never forget to follow him. Xiao Chun did not mind. He was almost used to little Chick Xing's existence. Anyway, his strength had not recovered, and he could not do anything to her. If she liked him, then let her follow him. If he encountered any danger, she would be a good bodyguard. After running for about half an hour, Xiao Chun used the Big Dipper to determine the direction of the heavenly jade mine. He estimated that he would arrive about 10 kilometers to the east, which was about 10 minutes away. He could not help but feel a little more relaxed. Xiao Chun felt that the Chick Xing was still hanging behind him, not too far away, so he decided to play a little joke with her to tease her. After quickly running forward for a distance, Xiao Chun's figure moved slightly, and he quietly set up an illusion on the side of the road. Then he slowed down his footsteps and released his divine sense. He watched as little girl Xing slowly caught up to him from behind. Feeling that the distance between the two of them was about right, Xiao Chun suddenly turned around and looked behind him. Little girl Xing jumped in fright. In her shock, she hurriedly dodged and hid in the forest by the side of the road, trying to hide behind a large tree. Bang! Ouch! A muffled sound rang out, followed by a blood-curdling screech. Xiao Chun watched as she clutched her head and squatted on the ground. A mischievous smile appeared on his face as he turned around and continued on his way. Ouch, it hurts! Little Miss Xing rubbed her red and swollen forehead as she stared at the culprit in front of her, a big tree. How could I have made a mistake? It should have been an empty space, right? How strange! Little Miss Xing muttered to herself. She was very puzzled. Just now, she clearly saw the position of the big tree before dodging. She did not know what happened, but she unexpectedly bumped into it. Could it be that she was too tired? Seeing that Xiao Chun's figure was getting further and further away, and was about to disappear, little Miss Xing could not be bothered to think too much. She used her movement technique and quickly chased after him. Staring at Xiao Chun's faintly discernible figure, a thought suddenly flashed through little Miss Xing's mind. Could it be that Xiao Chun had done something and purposely made her bump into the tree? However, little Miss Xing quickly rejected this thought. Even though Xiao Chun's strength was higher than hers, it was impossible for him to make the tree move. That would be too heaven-defying. Furthermore, he was currently seriously injured. It was even more unrealistic. Quickly arriving at the entrance of the heavenly jade mine, Xiao Chun looked around and released his divine sense to make sure that there was no one else following him other than little Miss Xing. Thus, he imitated the cuckoo bird's call 3 times. This was the contact signal that Jia Muzhen and Jia Hongyuan had previously agreed on. Hero Xiao, I'm here. Jia Hongyong had been waiting inside the mine for a long time. When he heard the signal, he immediately ran out and waved his hand enthusiastically at Xiao Chun. Hello, big brother Jia Hongyong. Jia Muzhen should have told you that I will be staying in the mine for a few days. I'll have to trouble you with everything. Xiao Chun walked over with a smile and cupped his hands towards Jia Hongyong as he spoke politely. Hero Xiao is too polite. You are an honored guest invited by young Master Mu Senator naturally. You are also an honored guest of mine, Jia Hongyong. It is my honor to be able to serve you and young Master Mu-san. Previously, the mine was only stabilized because of you. Jia Hongyong quickly waved his hand and said respectfully. He was now very glad that he had bet on the right treasure during the chaos in the mine. Although Jia Muzin had once run away from home in dire straits, he was now the rightful successor to the family head. Moreover, he already knew that his nephew had become Jia Muzin's confidant. He couldn't help but feel even happier. It seemed that his family would definitely prosper in the future. According to the rules, in the Jia family, only the descendants of the elders could be considered direct descendants. Jia Renzhong was a collateral descendant. Since both his parents had passed away, he could only follow Jia Hongyong, the deputy steward of the mine. Normally, he would be looked down upon. However, in the future, Jia Renzhong's descendants could also become direct descendants and enjoy the treatment of direct descendants. Even if Jia Hongyong was still only a steward and his identity would not change, with Jia Renzhong's filial nature, he would definitely let Jia Hongyong enjoy the honor. After suffering for so many years this time, he could finally turn things around. Moreover, even without Jia Renzhong, with Jia Muzin becoming the successor to the family head, Jia Hongyong felt that his position as the substitute steward of the mine would soon become the official one. Therefore, he was extremely respectful to Jia Muzin's right-hand man, Xiao Chun, and did not dare to slight him in the slightest. Alright, let's not talk too much. First, bring me to the mine, and then get me some spiritual jades. You don't have to look for those polished ones. Just bring me the raw stones. Xiao Chun smiled, and went straight to the point. He didn't want to waste time. Since he was already here, he had to quickly recover from his injuries. If he wanted to chat, there would be plenty of opportunities in the future. Alright, I have already prepared the car. This way, please follow me. Jia Hongyong understood what Xiao Chun meant. He immediately made an inviting gesture and brought him through the gate of the mine. They got into the car and prepared to go to the main mining area. You're tuning in to the Journey of the Soul YouTube channel. Don't forget to subscribe and join us on this journey to catch the most captivating stories.